What we do here is go back.
Hello there, everybody. I will forego my usual irreverent, whimsical beginning to proceedings this evening to bring you a genuinely tragic, awful piece of news. At the tender age of just 100, former Secretary of State of the United States of Americana Land, Henry Robinette Kissinger has died. Now, some people would say that Mr. Kissinger was in fact one of the most terrible human beings who's ever walked the earth, a war criminal almost without equal, responsible for millions of people's deaths across various continents and the overthrowing of any number of democratically elected governments. I would say that is clearly disrespectful, and that even though he may have been literally Satan, we should respect his passing. So I offer you my ever trusty loyal followers to show a moment's respect as we have a peaceful moment of silence to allow us to have our own reflections on one of the truly large characters of human life. You can't tell, but I'm flossing. I'm hitting the dab. Let's fucking go. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody, for that solemn moment of peaceful reflection on a human loss to us at the age of 100, thus proving there definitely isn't a benevolent God. There's no fucking way. No way this old cunt lives to 100 and God exists, or at least God is all-powerful and benevolent. Can't be. Logically cannot possibly fucking be. Ridiculous shit. Absolutely ridiculous. The memes were worth it, though. The memes were absolutely worth it. In all honesty, the person I feel genuinely sorry for in all of this are the people who, now that Henry Kissinger has passed, won't be able to use that death at the claw machine meme. When it goes, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, oh no, is Henry Kissinger even in this thing? Those people, what the fuck are they going to do? They're going to be bereft of purpose in this life. Madness. That's what it is. Madness. Madness, sadness, and badness. Oh, my nipples. Honestly, my nipples are chafed with the amount I've been rubbing them. I don't think that human kidneys can possibly
Stop it.
keep up.
Get some help.
I don't think that human kidneys can possibly keep up with the amount of piss that I want to be able to produce to put upon his grave. I don't think it's possible. I think very much that the brain is asking too much of my kidneys and or bladder to keep up with that. But we'll do the best we can, yeah? In what is, I think, Earth's favourite gender-neutral bathroom now, when he eventually is laid to rest. Presumably in a lead coffin, just to make absolutely sure. Do you know what I mean? Fucking cunt. Thank you, Navigator, for resubscribing. And thank you, Nick Puckett, for resubscribing with Prime. Much love to you both. We are on a hype train. If you enjoy the fact that Henry Kissinger is dead, you can help me with the hype train. You might think those two things are unconnected. You would be incorrect. Henry Kissinger's passing is a beautiful thing that we can all celebrate by giving me money. That's the thing. If you enjoy Henry Kissinger being dead, you can give me money in the form of bits and subscriptions and get me to level 2 of the hype train. And I'll be honest with you, he hasn't even been buried yet, but I'm going to say it. I will finger the corpse of Henry Kissinger if we get to level 2 of the hype train. I'm just saying. That is a solemn vow I'm making to you. Okay? You know I've got fucking experience in this. You know I've got game.
Jimmy Carter outlives Kissinger.
True. The famous Israel must live, Carter must go. Who must go? Boom. He's still fucking here, mate. And he's going to be running in 2024. Let's have you. Oh, this is already lined up. Thank you.
Stop it.
255.
Get some help.
That's what we're going to take a look at in a second. Unbelievable. Oh, people are just going to keep the meme going with a new person. Okay, I'm for it. Because that would have been a sad death, is the death of this particular meme. Henry Kissinger passing is fucking hilarious and or erection gathering. But this death would have been very sad, actually. So I'm glad it's still going. I'm glad it's still a thing. Thank you, by Pagan Man, with bits, and thank you, Tara the cat, for resubscribing 12 months with Prime. Too long. Much love. Thank you, Western Army, Bitty Bits. Much love to you. Don't forget, if you enjoy the fact that Henry Kissinger is dead, you can celebrate by subscribing on YouTube, if you're not already there, or following here on Twitch. These are things you can do to celebrate the death of Henry Kissinger. If you are positively aroused at the death of Henry Kissinger, you can subscribe to my Twitch channel. If you are tumescent with joy at the death of Henry Kissinger, you can subscribe with Amazon Prime on my Twitch. Okay? If you are overjoyed at the death of Henry Kissinger, you can subscribe with Amazon Prime. I've already said that one. You can give subs to the community. It's bad enough. Trying to remember this shit is bad enough without me doing the Henry Kissinger line every time. But you know what? I've started, so I'm going to fucking finish. If you are aroused at the death of Henry Kissinger, you can do bits messages. 200 bits or more will get you a text-to-speech. If you are, at the very least, mildly amused by the passing of Henry Robinette Kissinger, you can help me out on Patreon monthly. If you have taken glee at the death of Henry Kissinger, you can do super chats via the super chat link below. $2 or more there gets you a text-to-speech. God almighty. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands about the death of Henry Kissinger, you can hit me up at the Discord, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the Facebooks, the Blue Skies, and the TikToks. I think that's all of the things that you can help me out with if you enjoyed the death of Henry Kissinger. Fuck me. Thank you, Dragonix, for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Much love. Much love. Oh, memes, people. There have been some absolute bangers. Oh yeah, and I've got to finger the corpse of Henry Kissinger. I'll be honest, I don't know what the man has done. What Henry Kissinger, he's responsible for so much, right? He is, honestly, he's responsible for millions, and I mean literally millions of deaths. Okay? You don't need to know specifically any of the details to know that this was genuinely, and I mean this without hyperbole, this is not me going over the top, he's in the top probably 5 most evil people. Certainly, let's say, of the last couple of 100 years, let's say. So you've got like your Hitlers and your Stalins and all of that sort of stuff. Henry Kissinger is right up there with the worst of them. Honestly, an absolute monster who literally argued, even before he became Secretary of State, for the use of nuclear weaponry in regular warfare. A monumental bastard. Okay? A good breakdown of this was actually in the Rolling Stone. I won't go through the entire article, but I will post the article for you.
Coffin PLZ.
Nice. In the chat there. It's the Rolling Stone article about Henry Kissinger. A kind of obituary, if you will. A kind of fuck eulogy, if you will. Which goes through his many and varied war crimes in quite a lot of detail. But I just want to read to you the final small stanza, okay? Talking about the ways in which America has achieved justice against various people who had wronged innocent life and so forth. He says, right, it's such a fucking cold assessment of the situation. It's beautiful. Whatever bitterness Kissinger, in his final days, experienced over the erosion of his enterprise is little comfort to his millions of victims. America denied them the closure Kathleen Trianor experienced when America, declaring justice, ended Timothy McVeigh. They're literally saying we should have literally executed, we should have lethally injected, firing squadded, fucking long dropped this fucking cunt of a man. Absolutely on point. Chef's kiss, no notes. It's beautiful. Beautiful. Do you know what the fuck was up with the comparison between Ukraine's weapon acquisition and the Ho Chi Minh Trail in this article? I don't particularly, Maria, no. Apologies. But we will be getting into... hang on, where are we? This video. Johnny Harris, right? Who I've never really watched a lot of, but people call him like CIA Johnny, right? Which is always kind of funny when people do that. But having watched this video, I have to say, he's not escaping that. He's really not escaping that tag anytime soon. He basically whitewashes him. But it's so wild, because this is a pre-prepared video that was only dropped a few hours ago. So Johnny Harris either was working on this randomly, or has been sitting on this for quite some time, waiting for him to die. Either way, it's wild that it's gone up now. But let's do some memes while we can. Let's go. So, the Wikipedia editors literally moved. This was within like 3 minutes, I think it was, of him...
Stop it. Get some help.
Thank you. of him passing, or the news being announced that he had passed, and he became a was. And that's how you know. That is literally how you know that someone has died. That's the final confirmation you need, okay? Of when the Wikipedia editors have changed the person from is to was. That's it. It's over. That's, for me, that's more final than the fucking the surgeon at the hospital going, I'm calling it, patient died, 11:27. You know, that for me is that's not enough. I need the Wikipedia editors to get on that shit, and they do fantastically quick work. More of that in a second. Thank you, Swirly Curly, for bits. Thank you, Grey on Wannabe, for resubscribing with Prime. Much love to you all. Was he vaxxed? We don't know. Probably, but he was also an old evil cunt who died, so that's, you know, a thing.
Lord Fritters donated $5. Mellow greetings. I come to revel in jolly celebration, as the old ghoul finally bit the dust, and we soon become America's brand new gender-neutral urinal.
Fucking true, Lord Fritters. Much love. Also, Lord Fritters, you're still on for Saturday. You still want to do it? Let's go. Hit me up on the Discord. We'll chat. I put out this one, a little local slice here. I haven't been this happy since the Queen died. Hashtag Kissinger. Beautiful. Beautiful. I like this one specifically, right? So obviously everyone was going with the death at the claw machine, fucking finally, naturally. But what I especially love this one from Radham is that this is clearly Henry Kissinger during his Joker cosplay arc. And I for one, appreciate that enormously. That he took that part of his life, a very under-analysed, under-scrutinised element of his life, but he was big about dressing like the Joker from the Batmans. So, wait, the Queen's dead? Yes, for now. And then this account, I love it. Is Henry Kissinger dead yet? It's been a story and a kind of a genuine epic. This particular Twitter account for me, because I jumped in early. I was one of the early adopters on the Is Henry Kissinger Dead Yet account, and they have been growing ever more depressed, upset. Just horrific, right? So every day for the past 2 fucking years, look, if you scroll back, right? No, nope, he isn't dead, right? For ages and ages, they clearly took on this role, not fully understanding that this motherfucker was not going to die very soon. And they're becoming more and more maudlin as time has gone on. Right, so they've said, like, here, on April the 28th, no, and he might outlive us, to be honest. No. Stop tagging us in stuff about his birthday. It's quite a nice one. So close. Yeah, I get it. Not yet. Nope. Who croaks first, Kissinger or Twitter? You know what? They got it wrong on this one, technically, you know? No, and our mental health is on the brink. No, and it's our birthday. No, but neither is Jimmy Carter. Fair point. No, but, and it's fucking Mitch McConnell glitching out on us. The Matrix fucking up. No, and despite everyone's thoughts and prayers, this account will be 2 years old next week. Oh, that was just, yesterday? And then they posted this. Hang on, where they responded to their own thing. Where is it? Didn't they? Have they deleted it now? I'm not sure. Maybe they did. Oh, I think they must have done. That's a shame. Anyway, they said it was... they must have deleted it because it had a drug reference in it or something. Because they said yes, and then they quote-tweeted... Or not quote-tweeted, they replied to their own thing here, the yes, with... something like that we were almost 2 weeks. We've been doing this for 2 years, a lot longer than we thought we would. This is what it must be like taking crack, or something like that. And I just, beautiful. So that was nice. Here we go. Oh, here it is. Sorry. Yeah, there we go. Right. Yes. And then they replied with, "We would be running this account for 2 years tomorrow night. This has got to be what meth feels like." Thoughts and prayers, indeed. Thoughts and prayers. Yeah. This one was quite nice from Nick, regular in the chat. Everyone go and follow Nick for cat-related themes. But yeah, Henry Kissinger, and then Henry Kissinger, sorry, with two. I mean, just yellow cables. I think that is. I don't know what else that would be. Just some yellow piping going down into the grave. It's nice. Vermin Supreme, naturally. I beat Henry Kissinger. Fuck yes, you did, VS. Fuck yes, mate. Love it. Absolutely love it. Big up your man. Wears a fucking welly on his head as well. Boom. You can't spell ADL without L. Henry Kissinger was this is the ADL. The ADL. Henry Kissinger was a towering intellect, diplomat, and practitioner who not only, not without controversy, helped shape American foreign policy and lasting a refugee from Nazi Germany, the first Jewish Secretary of State, was unapologetic about his heritage, and he embraced the importance of American global cunts. Right? Hang on a minute. Where's the thing? 1 second. In case anyone was wondering, where's the fucking thing? Hang on a minute. By the way, the charity stream thing, go and retweet it and all the rest of it. If you're still on Twitter, I don't know why you would be. Here we go. Henry Kissinger was in a meeting in I think the 1970s. Explains that one contemporaneous meeting of the Washington Special Actions Group, a government crisis task force, Kissinger grumbled, quote, If it were not for the accident of my birth, I would be anti-Semitic. He added, any people who have been persecuted for 2,000 years must be doing something wrong. He was literally a fucking Nazi. An actual fucking Nazi cuntbag. But you know, the ADL, always standing up for anyone who's a Zionist. Literally, that's their entire bit. And there are the Wikipedia, right? Wikipedia editor Asticky edited Henry Kissinger's article at 8:46 Eastern and then changed her username to this with the summary edit Lamau. I'm forever the girl who changed is to was on Henry Kissinger's Wikipedia article. Honestly, absolute fucking king shit. Oh no, it's a girl. Queen. A queen shit. Honestly, if you ever meet this person, buy them a fucking drink. Absolutely love it. What's this? First day in hell. Sir, Mr. Lucifer.
Stop it. Get some help.
Or maybe I shall. Sir, Mr. Lucifer, can... Oh, shit. Can I call you Beelzebub? Heaven has it too good for too long. You might even call it communism. True. Yeah, don't be surprised if a coup gets fermented somewhere in the fucking afterlife now. Because of this fucking wrong'un. God almighty, what a fucking bitch. Anyway. And then Henry Kissinger, rest in Pissinger. Honestly, that might be my Sistine Chapel. That might be my my magnificent octopus, to quote Baldrick from Blackadder. Thank you, Raven the Dark Maiden, for resubscribing. Much love to you. Is Clarence Thomas even in this thing? Yeah, who's the new Henry Kissinger? Should we get a poll going in chat? Who's the new Henry Kissinger? There are several people on offer, right? Who's the next person that everyone wants to die? That's the real talking point, I think, from all of this. Who knew Heaven's return policy was up to 100 years? True. It's your Marco Van Basten volley. No, well, you know what? I'm going to go one better, as Friends Rust. I'm going to say it's my Dennis Birdcamp. It's my Dennis Bergkamp, takes the long ball from the air, pulls it inside the defender, outside of the foot, top corner, 98. Boom. Best goal ever. I will truck no argument with that. Okay? You know what? We're watching it. It's not relevant to anything, but now I've thought about it, we're watching Dennis Bergkamp be a fucking genius. It's what Henry Kissinger wouldn't have wanted, probably. I don't know. Anyway,
Met het balbezit voor Frank de Boer. Frank de Boer speelt de bal heel goed naar Dennis Bergkamp. Dennis Bergkamp neemt de bal aan. Dennis Bergkamp! Dennis Bergkamp!
Oh, mate.
Dennis Bergkamp!
Mate.
Dennis Bergkamp!
Behave yourself.
Dennis Bergkamp! Oh! Frank de Boer speelt de bal naar Dennis Bergkamp. Die neemt de bal
It still doesn't make
feilloos aan.
sense.
En ik schiet de bal
The physics of it don't
We spelen
work.
nog officieel 20
It's not
seconden.
possible.
Dennis Bergkamp! 2-1!
Now Bergkamp running onto the ball. Bergkamp, the chip score!
Doesn't make sense. It's the physics of it, the mechanics don't work. It's like what they used to say about the bumblebee can't fly. That's nonsense. But this is actually true. Like that goal shouldn't be able to happen. Dennis Bergkamp wasn't human. You can't convince me he was. Oh, this is a nice little reference point. Nancy Reagan when she sees Henry Kissinger come through the gates to hell. Absolutely delightful. It's true. We all know she was the goat. Let's not pretend otherwise. Henry Kissinger, everyone. True. Fucking true. This one is quite nice. A little modern update on her. MAGA waiting for Trump to tell them what they're supposed to think about Kissinger while Trump Googles Kissinger. That's a twofer. That's a fucking twofer. That's two jokes in one there. It's a burn on MAGA people and it's a burn on Trump. They're both ignorant pricks. Booyah. That is a stiff dick of poop. Indeed it is. Oh, this was quite nice as well. Henry Kissinger came to Columbia, not the country, the law school in, is it Washington, I think? Or New York? I don't know. Journalism school in 2008. I put my hand up. Quote, "How do you sleep at night?" I asked. There was a pause. Organiser got up from his seat. "Do you think you're superior to me?" Kissinger asked. "Yes," I replied. Lowest bar there is, surely. See, not many people get to ask a war criminal about their war crimes. So that's quite nice. I appreciate that. Thank you, Ramona the Dragon, for gifting a sub. Much fucking love to you. Columbia is in New York. I knew it. Fucking knew it. And then there's all that stuff. Now, I do have to get on to the Johnny Harris video. But before I do that, I do just want to point out this, right? Johnny Harris is clearly like a CIA operative or something now. Like, obviously he must be, because he does a kind of whitewashing in this video of Henry Kissinger, literal war criminal, right? And they were both on the board of the Centre for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, naturally, which is that one there. So Harris is on that board, and Henry Kissinger was an advisor for that organisation as well. So not exactly a massively neutral take on all of this, when you think about it. Fucking joker. Anyway, let's take a look at this bollocks. Then after this, we're going to watch a fucking crazy debate about Israel-Palestine. So if you want to stick with that, we can. It's a thing.
Henry Kissinger, one of the most controversial and powerful figures in American politics, is dead. Kissinger was an American diplomat and political scientist. He served as National Security Advisor and was an American...
Neck vag. Look at that shit. Look at the fucking neck wound on him. That is a stiff dick of poop. That is. I'll be honest with you, that's up there with Piers Morgan in terms of neck vag. Neck poon, if you will. Impressive. Impressive and a little bit gross. That is a stiff dick.
Diplomat and...
Oh, things are happening. Why are noises happening? Thank you, Lord Fruitus, for gifting a sub, and thank you, Grey on Wannabe, for gifting a sub. Clearly, you all enjoyed the death of Henry Kissinger, and that's why you're giving money. And you know what? I appreciate it. Henry Kissinger would not have wanted me to have that money. You are spitting in his face and pissing on his grave and shitting on his legacy, and that is a very worthy cause. Let's fucking go. That is a stiff dick of poop. Oh! Orgle Wargle with 10 bitty bits. Not 10 bitty bits, 10 subscripciones. That means I've got to do a crab dance for you. Oh, fuck's sake. Oh, yeah. By the way, the reason I'm not on screen tonight is because I've got a bit of a headache. So having the lights on would right in my eyes would probably be not great for that. But I'm going to do it because you gave 10 gifted subs. I mean, crab dance, here we come. Can we have the... When was the last time we did one of these? Has anyone got the crab dance thingamajig? The everlasting crab dance thing? When was the last time we even did one of those? I can't remember.
Stop it.
Thank you, Cicero Fields, for resubscribing with 9 months. So you get a... Okay, you're taking the piss out of me now, you people. With your generosity and your consistent support. It's a fucking disgrace, okay? I've now got to ask somebody else to get both the Never-Ending Crab Dance rave and the 9-month post-birth baby Bible abortion. 2 things that I've got to ask somebody else to now do for me. What's happening here? You people make me sick. Honestly, I think you'll enjoy the thing on Saturday, the charity thing, which, by the way, go and spam the shit out of it. It's fucking awesome. And thank you, Lord Fruitus, for doing the poster thing. Much love. What the fuck was I going to say? Bollocks. Oh, yeah. It's been good working with people who are, like, organised and shit. The people, like, behind the scenes. They're organised and they know what they're doing, and that's been refreshing for me to see how it works, to pick up some tips about how not to be a complete fuck up at this. So actually, I might come out of this entire experience a slightly more polished streamer. It's still going to be bollocks. It's still going to be absolutely fucking awful, but it might be passable as an actual streamer. Think about it. You know, it makes sense. Neither did I, Gray, if I'm entirely honest with you. If Wayward Historian isn't here, then nothing happens. Okay? She puts way more effort to it than I do. Hang on, what's this? The wildest crab dance rave of all time? What's this? Okay. Fuck it. Okay, we're doing it. Bollocks to it. Right. Oh, shithouse. Right. Hang on. Right, so I've got to get the crab dance rave up for the 2nd time in this stream now. Why do I make that sound like that's such a massive chore? Like, there are people fucking starving to death, man. There's wars happening. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I've got to go and search for that shit song on YouTube twice in one day. Isn't my life fucking hell? It's like working down a coal mine, this. What a cunt. What a first world cunt I am. Anyway, where we at? Oh, those lights are very annoying. Hello, everyone. I don't fucking know what's happening. Okay, well, here we go. I don't know how this is going to work, but we're going to give it a go. Oh, it's Rory Cats! No way. Crap dance! I'll be honest with you, my heart isn't in it. Shut the fuck up. My heart isn't in it. After seeing Rory Cats, and I'm just like, my heart, my heart. I can't get into the rhythm of it. I'll be honest with you, it's fucked with my flow. I'm sorry. I failed you. Mainly because I didn't really try. And I make no apologies for it. Thank you, Orgle Wargle. Much love. Cicero, oh yeah, I've got to get the fucking... the post-birth baby. What is this? Oh, God. Hang on. No, that's the wrong one. Apologies. Like I said, I'm getting professional at this. You can tell, can't you? Mod links. Is this the one? Hang on a minute. Hang on. No, that's Copacabana. God, why would a store so much better at this than me? Here we go. Enjoy. Post-birth baby, blah bush. Post-birth baby, blah. Death to the West. Anyway, neck vag. We were interrupted from admiring the neck vag. I'm going off camera again, apologies. Oh shit, hang on. What am I doing? There we go. Yeah. Neck pussy. The nussy. The Kissinger.
And political scientist. He served as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State under 2 presidents. And his career is full of a lot. Some laudable...
Yeah, I mean, to say 2 presidents is already a kind of propagandistic thing because literally Ford took over because of the Watergate scandal that should have ended Kissinger's career as well. So, like, it's not... What the fuck?
Henry Kissinger, one of the most controversial and powerful figures in American politics, is dead.
Oh, fun times.
Kissinger was an American diplomat and political scientist. He served as National Security Advisor and Secretary of State under 2 presidents. And his career is full of a lot. Some laudable achievements, such as normalizing relations with China, but also full of some actions that many call war crimes.
Do you not call them war crimes, Jonathan? Do you not?
Many of you watching are 100% positive that Henry Kissinger is a war criminal. Others might...
Johnny. Oi, oi, oi. Johnny. What makes you think? What makes you so sure that everyone already knows that he's a war criminal? Do you think there's any reason that they might believe that? Do you think there's any reason that they might have come to that conclusion? Perhaps. Intriguing.
might see Kissinger as a brilliant leader who helped the U.S. navigate very uncertain times during the Cold War. I actually met Henry Kissinger once. I was working at a think tank in D.C. where he was a counselor and trustee. And
so you were colleagues, and you admire the guy, but you want us to take you seriously as like an impartial observer of this, to deny his war crimes, the obvious war crimes that he war crimed whilst doing war crimes. You fucking ghoul.
Frankly, I didn't glean much about this guy's character in our little meeting. But since then, we've gotten to know him, at least his career. We've studied him and his actions, both the good and the bad. So today, I want to look at this man, Henry Kissinger. I want to look at what he did and evaluate what we can learn from this person who, for better or worse, has played an influential role in how American power is wielded on the global stage.
Well, what we can learn is that, well, firstly, abortion is sometimes the only moral thing to do. And secondly, the US justice system is a fucking joke. Because not only did they not prosecute him, but because of Henry Kissinger, they literally passed a law which gives preemptive authority to the United States government, via the President of the United States, to invade the Netherlands and get any American citizen back who might be taken to The Hague for war crimes. Because Henry Kissinger nearly got arrested and sent to The Hague for war crimes. The evil empire indeed.
On this, perhaps the most gentle and graceful land in all of Asia, President Nixon and Mr. Kissinger unleashed 100,000 tons of bombs.
Henry Kissinger was born on May 27, 1923 in Germany. When he was a teenager, his family left Germany for the United States, fleeing oppression from the Nazis. He went to Harvard and later was drafted into the army during World War II, serving in a counterintelligence role. After the war, he returned to Harvard and pursued a PhD in political science. Kissinger made a name for himself as a political theorist and author. He focused on the role of nuclear weapons and this new geopolitics that had emerged after World War II. He studied a political philosophy called realpolitik, which emphasizes how countries gain power by reacting practically to conflicts and situations.
To be honest with you, one of the galling intellectual aspects of the Henry Kissinger legacy is this reverence for realpolitik. What realpolitik is not a new thing. It's not even really a concrete thing. It's self-interest at the expense of everything else, which is not a new thing. That's not a thing that he invented. That's not remotely fucking like some intellectual endeavour or contribution that he's made to the world. He just went, oh no, it's fine to kill whoever the fuck you want because it makes you powerful and that's cool. What the fuck? He was a fucking lunatic. That's not being a selfish cunt and killing loads of people for your own financial and or power-based reasons is not a political philosophy. It's just being a cunt.
As opposed to based on ideology or values. But from
or international law or basic human decency, yeah, cool.
My reading, what made Kissinger powerful was his ability to connect with people, to network in Washington, D.C. That was...
Oh yeah, no, he liked all of the evil bastards. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Perhaps his greatest asset, and the thing that kept him close to power. This was later exemplified by the fact that Kissinger served under both Republican and Democratic presidents. You can start...
Yes, because they're the same fucking party when it comes to foreign policy. They're basically the same fucking thing. The military-industrial complex basically runs that shit. Like, in terms of domestic policy, there's going to be some differences. A Democrat might give you slightly better wages or conditions. Something like that. But when it comes to foreign policy, they're all going to support Israel. They're all going to try and fuck with their geopolitical enemies, be it Russia, Iran, China. There's no fucking difference between these cunts.
Start to see Kissinger's realpolitik and networking skills in full action well before he ever stepped foot in the White House. According to this archived document from Nixon's chief of staff, early in his career when he was working for the Democratic President LBJ as an advisor on Vietnam, he cozied up to...
How'd that work? The massive bombing campaign in Southeast Asia? Was that awesome? Did that injure anybody or kill anybody? Was it literally the worst foreign policy mistake that America has ever fucking made?
To the Democrats' political opponent, Richard Nixon, who was running for president. So he cozies up to Nixon and conspires to pass Nixon information about secret Vietnam War peace talks happening in Paris. Nixon could potentially use this information that he got from Kissinger to prevent the peace talks from going well, which in turn would make the Democrats look bad, since they were the ones in power, and help pave the way for Nixon to win the presidency.
Whoa, let's keep bombing Indochina. That's what it was called. Sort of.
Now, there's a significant debate on whether or not all of this sort of backroom deal thing had any impact on the peace talks. But what I care about in this little story is what it shows about Henry Kissinger.
Not what it did to the peace talks. You are a fucking wanker, mate. Johnny, you are a terrible human being. I'm not interested on whether it interfered with the peace talks that could have saved millions of people's lives and saved America a huge amount of money and lives of its own soldiers. No. I'm interested in this one cunt and how it affected him. This is maniacal. The fuck is wrong with you?
That he was willing to go to these lengths to betray the president he was working for and to cozy up to a candidate who he hated but thought could potentially win the presidency, to pass on information that could potentially compromise.
Notice how he's far more condemnatory about Henry Kissinger being disloyal to the president than he is about him orchestrating fucking war crimes. What are you... You're a cunt. I'm just going to sit here and go, you're a cunt, 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 you're a cunt. Thank you, Big Zebra. Thanks for stopping by. Enjoy whatever you're up to.
The peace talks that might end the war in Vietnam. Anyway, the peace talks did indeed break down, the day before the presidential election, no less. Nixon ended up winning. And Kissinger, this political theorist turned power-hungry networker, had shown that he was willing to sabotage peace talks in the name of gaining favor in the eyes of a powerful man.
Okay, and are you going to condemn the absolutely monumental evil that takes? That he paved his way into the White House on the bones of millions of Asian people. Do you honestly not give a fuck about that? Do you honestly not think that that's worthy of calling this person out and being like, oh, actually, I think they might have been genuinely evil? No? It's just the betrayal of LBJ that you have an issue with. Cool. Very normal response.
Nixon appointed Kissinger as his national security advisor, giving him an unprecedented level of control. Control over what he could use the American power machine to do on the global stage. All in the name of...
Yeah, Johnny does have defence ties. Yeah, absolutely. I talked about it earlier. He worked at the same organisation that Henry Kissinger did, the International Centre for Something and Strategic Blah-de-blah. Who gives a fuck what it was called? Yeah, he's a wanker. Yeah.
National security. Now listen, most of us weren't alive at this time, so we don't really know what this was like to live during the 60s and 70s.
Are you fucking mad? We weren't alive, so we can't take an opinion of it because we don't know what it was like. Okay, the same could work for literally anything. Literally, a Holocaust denier could do the exact same thing and say, most of us weren't even alive during that, so we can't really understand the full context of it, what it was really like during those days. We weren't alive during the reign of Vlad Dracul, so we don't know what the context was for him literally putting people on wooden spikes and killing them, and bathing in blood. We just don't know. Okay.
When kind of everything was about the Cold War and specifically Vietnam.
Yeah, but why? Because the American foreign policy establishment took the decision to do the prevent strategy, or whatever, the containment strategy. Prevent is a very much a British thing. The containment strategy, where you can't allow them any win whatsoever, even if, as was the case in Vietnam, most of the people of Vietnam would have voted for Ho Chi Minh, who was a liberation hero. Regardless of what you think of him and his actions later on, he was considered a liberation hero. Okay? He was much beloved by the Vietnamese people. Now, of course, there were lots of people who didn't like him, but there's no doubt if a free and fair election had been held across the entirety of Vietnam, he would have won quite comfortably. And that couldn't be allowed to happen. Because communism bad, even at the expense of actual democracy, human rights, and millions of lives. You can't act as if Vietnam just happened. Like, oh, whoops, America just happens to have thousands and thousands of troops in Southeast Asia. How did that happen? Anyway, never mind. We can't understand. We weren't really there at the time. Fuck you.
So now you have Henry Kissinger and Richard Nixon overseeing this war. It was a war that was no closer to ending. A war that, remember, these two conspired to lengthen so that together they could end it and score Nixon political points.
Hang on. They lengthened it so they could end it. Just, Johnny, please. Just on a basic logic level here. They lengthened it so they could end it. They lengthened it so they could... They did more war so that they could do less war. I mean, even as CIA PSYOP defences go, this is some unbelievably weak sauce. This is a joke. They'd lengthen the war so they could end the war. Yeah, brilliant plan, guys. Just superb. Is he going to defend the Kent State shooting? I assume he's not even going to mention it. He showed briefly some of the footage from that day. For those who don't know, Kent State in Ohio, Kent State University, there was an anti-Vietnam protest and the National Guard were called in and 4 people were killed. Whenever they go on about freedom of speech and how you can definitely criticise the government in America, do bring up Kent State, where the National Guard were sent in against protesters against the Vietnam War and they murdered 4 of them. Just worth remembering.
And this leads us to perhaps the most infamous of Kissinger's sins. There's a reason why Anthony Bourdain said, quote, "Once you've been to Cambodia, you'll never stop wanting to beat Henry Kissinger to death with your bare hands." That's because in March 1969, Kissinger directed the US Air Force to fly over Vietnam's neighbor, Cambodia, a neutral third party, and to drop bombs everywhere.
President Nixon and Mr. Kissinger unleashed 100,000 tons of bombs, the equivalent.
Now, Johnny, you said at the start, some people consider him to be a war criminal. Some people. What the fuck do you call carpet bombing a neutral third party? An entirely innocent, non-combatant nation? That's a war crime, isn't it? That's a very serious war crime that he did against a country which posed no threat to the United States. Lions led by donkeys. Kent State massacre. Okay. I don't think I have enough time for an hour-long thing, but thank you, Lord Fritos. Yes, everyone should look into the Kent State massacre. It was grim.
Of 5 Hiroshimas. The bombing was their personal decision. Illegally and secretly, they bombed Cambodia, a neutral country, back to the Stone Age.
The goal was to eliminate North Vietnamese supply lines and strongholds that were in Cambodia, but the response was carpet bombing. Carpet bombing is indiscriminate. It has unknown targets, which means that civilians usually get caught in the crossfire. So now you have B-52s raining down hell from the sky at...
Are you going to mention the fact that this was an unprovoked attack on a neutral nation? Are you even going to mention that bit? Yeah, the carpet bombing bit is obviously fucking appalling as well, the tactic. But the fact that there was any attack at all is a war crime. All of it's a war crime. Every last fucking bit of it. Every death, every single bomb dropped is a war crime.
All hours of the day. Homes were reduced to rubble, entire villages were turned immediately into refugees, and what the record shows, that came out later, is that all of this indiscriminate bombing, this slaughter from above, was approved by and then concealed by Henry Kissinger.
So say it. Say the thing. Say the thing that was a war crime, Johnny. I think that would be only reasonable to do at this point. You've outlaid, albeit in very, very minor, like not very much detail at all, very broad bullshit ways. But you have elucidated the war crimes, what he did in Cambodia. You could call them that, Johnny. I think that would be okay to do. In fact, I think it would be the moral thing to do at this point.
This map that you're looking at is not some stylized representation of this. This is actual data. We have the data of every bomb, hundreds of thousands of bombs that were dropped on Cambodia during this time. All in all, at least 100,000 Cambodians died in all of this. 2 million were made homeless. And this is in a country of only 7 million people. In total, the US dropped 2,756,000 tons of bombs on Cambodia.
Yeah, he murdered 100,000 plus people, yes. It's a war crime, Johnny.
Many of these bombs went undetonated, turning the country into a minefield of undetonated explosives that still exist today. And perhaps more significantly, contributing to the destabilizing of this country, making way for a violent communist party to rise to power with a vengeance.
Yep, exactly. It led to Pol Pot, who would go on to kill another, was it million or something? Thanks, Henry. You really did us a solid, you cunt.
leading to a mass genocide.
Can you believe? Can you fucking... Hang on, so it's genocide... Hang on, whoa. It's genocide if Pol Pot does it, but it's not genocide when Henry Kissinger does it. Johnny, just come out and just say literally this stream sponsored by the CIA. Don't forget to vote in your local CIA sponsored politician. And don't question your government. Bye. Like, are you fucking mad? In one breath, you can literally just sort of brush off the fact that he killed 100,000 people, but it's genocide when Pol Pot does it. Somehow.
All of this happened in secret.
Don't get me wrong, it was genocide that Pol Pot did. I'm just saying it was also that when Henry Kissinger did it.
Without the approval of Congress. It was Henry Kissinger, this one man, wielding his deftly gotten power to ruthlessly get what he wanted at any cost. As the endless war was near its end, peace negotiations kept breaking down. In response, Kissinger sent another round of brutal bombings around Christmas 1972 in an effort to force the North Vietnamese back to the negotiating table. And I'm not exaggerating here. Like, Kissinger literally said, quote, "We bombed the North Vietnamese into accepting our concessions." Some historians argue that the bombings had little effect on the peace talks and instead only resulted in more pain, more death, and more destruction.
Yeah, war crimes. Call them that.
And yet, this is where the story takes an insane turn. The next year, Henry Kissinger was given a Nobel Peace Prize for brokering the ceasefire in Vietnam.
An absolute joke. Albeit, worse, but less bizarre, I suppose, in some respects, than when Barack Obama got one for doing nothing, if you remember. That was an odd one recently as well. I think the Nobel Peace Prize Committee are twats. Yeah, bit twatty.
Award given to him for ending a war that didn't actually end. An award that his North Vietnamese counterpart would decline. 2 members of the Nobel Peace Committee resigned in protest because of this.
It is as if everyone at the Olympic Stadium joined in carrying an athlete on their shoulders in an endless triumphal procession, without pausing to realize that in fact he had won no gold medals at all.
And Kissinger himself.
And that was Buckley, like an arch conservative. Like, he was, honestly, Henry Kissinger was monumentally evil. I think it speaks so poorly to the American psyche that he was allowed to just exist under several presidents. You saw it earlier. Fucking Clinton, Reagan, the Bushes, all of them, they all loved up to him. Fucking cunts.
Himself even felt weird about this and offered to give the medal back to the committee. Okay, this is one of the great parodies of the modern era that this ever happened, but it doesn't end here. In Chile in 1970, Kissinger directed the CIA to destabilize the country and seek to overthrow its recently elected socialist president. The coup attempt failed here, but it eventually did lead to the assassination of a Chilean general. The president was eventually overthrown and replaced by this Chilean general who would go on to kidnap, murder, and torture his political opponents. But because he wasn't a communist, Kissinger turned a blind eye. In fact,
No, Johnny, stop whitewashing it, mate. He didn't just turn a blind eye. He actively supported and lobbied on behalf of him in Washington. You are, I mean, honestly, you are doing genocide denial at this point, or not genocide denial, war crimes denial, I guess. You are backing up a monstrously evil human being, and you should be ashamed. I hope the paychecks cover the emotional damage you're doing to yourself with this. Didn't Obama get his for being black and president at the same time for 7 months? Now, didn't he get? Am I wrong in saying that he got it when he was before he was president even? Or have I forgot that? I don't know. What is it, Clem Fandango? I read a sci-fi story once where a human from another universe who's been told the American value democracy, who's told us we went to war with Vietnam after Ho Chi Minh was elected, and he was like, assume the fought to make sure he took power. Okay. Thank you.
In fact, one of the features of Henry Kissinger during his time was cozying up to dictators all around the world, all in the name of securing America's place as the global superpower. He pledged his support for this Indonesian military dictator as he was invading East Timor using American weapons. We had this declassified...
Again, more war crimes, Johnny, you could call them that. I'm sorry if I'm being repetitive here, but I think it bears repeating. Because he's laying out here the war crimes that he did, but not calling them that, even though the video is called "Was Henry Kissinger a War Criminal?" Like, that the war criminality aspect of this is not incidental. It's literally the name of the thing. Yeah. Indeed, Allende did commit suicide to avoid a showpiece trial. Because America loves democracy, yo.
document of the conversation between Kissinger and this military dictator. Kissinger telling this military dictator to move fast on his invasion and to not be too obvious about the fact that he's using US military weaponry in support. The dictator did move fast and soon was exterminating hundreds of thousands of people. Kissinger and his big powerful apparatus standing by to watch what they had sponsored. While illegally bombing Cambodia, Kissinger also oversaw illegal bombing.
Yes, Daniel Ellsberg is a good person to look into. He revealed the Vietnam papers, didn't he? Yeah. I saw him being interviewed on Hard Talk. It was one of the last interviews he ever did, because he died relatively recently. Was it last year or something? Anyway, he was interviewed on that, and he was very good.
Bombings in Laos. He supported Pakistan in their genocide against Bangladesh. He supported Turkey as they invaded Cyprus. He helped kick off US dependence on Saudi Arabia for oil.
Like, Johnny, do you not see what an awful person this is? Really? Yeah, exactly. The video should be, was Henry Kissinger a war criminal? Yes. Yes, he was. He died in June 2023. Oh, a bit more recently then. Okay. Yeah, like, we can answer the question, can't we? Just let's get the lights on, shall we? Right, so was Henry Kissinger a war criminal? Yes. See? That could have been the video. The entire video.
Oil in exchange for selling them weapons, a relationship that we're still bound to today. He supported coups and death squads across Latin America, and the list goes on and on and on.
I won't have it from him that he's doing this against communism. It's just another of the constituents of the gigantic lie that constitutes his reputation. He's a thug.
Oh, God, do you remember when Christopher Hitchens wasn't a cunt? Those were good days, weren't they?
And a crook, and a liar, and a pseudo-intellectual, and a murderer. Okay?
True.
All of those things are factually verifiable. Factually verifiable.
I mean, listen, it was the Cold War. Like, again, none of us can really capture what that was like. You had two...
Yes, we fucking can, Johnny. That's how history is studied. You're literally trying to do it now, albeit from a dishonest point of view.
Superpowers racing to see who could get more nuclear weapons. There was real fear here, and leaders had to make very difficult decisions. Defenders of Kissinger see all of this behavior that I've listed as just a leader living in the Cold War, having to do what it takes to avoid nuclear conflict, or a communist takeover, a vital elder statesman.
No, dickhead. It's okay the US trying to stop a communist takeover of the US. That's one thing, okay? That's an internal political matter. Okay, fine. What you can't do is carpet bomb places that might otherwise want to do that, because that's their decision, not yours. Also, war crimes are bad regardless. But, you know, you're just basically now justifying war crimes. You're literally justifying actual genocide that took place in various places because of Henry Kissinger.
And serving America and making impossible decisions along the way.
No. Time out, Homeslice. Impossible decision. I think not carpet bombing Cambodia was actually a very possible decision that could have been made. I think virtually every human being on Earth at the time would have made that decision. Henry Kissinger was one of the few who made the opposite decision. Impossible. What fucking planet are you on? I mean, you'd better hope there isn't a hell, Johnny, because you're heading there with Kissinger if there is.
But the most vociferous critics tend to see the opposite. An evil genius who was given the full
No, not genius. No, just evil. There's nothing genius about using the armed power of the most militarily powerful country on earth to destroy small countries and overthrow their governments. Nothing genius about it. It's very straightforward. Realpolitik at its heart is just might makes right. And has been around since the beginning of human civilization.
Arsenal of American power, which he then wielded to achieve his grand vision of how the world should look. But when you look at the arc of Henry Kissinger's career, neither of these characterizations hold.
He's both siding Kissinger. He's both siding the cunt. Oh, I'm a radical centrist on Henry Cunting Kissing Cunting Kerr. You fucking... Ghoulish. Ghoulish madness. I was technically born in the Cold War as well, albeit right at the end. But, you know, whatevs.
He was not a master strategist or an unparalleled genius. In fact, he's a guy full of contradictions. He conspired to extend the Vietnam War despite thinking that the war was foolish.
Well, yeah, exactly. He's full of contradictions. He was pro-life, yet he chose to die. Interesting, isn't it? Very contradictory. And also, can I just say, I've got my charity thing coming up on Saturday, right? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, how is this relevant to anything, Kev? Like, how is the fact that on Saturday at 5 p.m. UK time, noon Eastern, I'll be starting a stream. We'll be going for about 5 or 6 hours. We've got various people in there. Guests aplenty. Fun for the whole family, except it will be 18 plus because, obviously. How is this relevant? Well, I'll be honest with you. The biggest victim of Henry Kissinger, I think, is me. Because I had booked Henry Kissinger to be on my stream. He was going to be one of the star guests. We were going to do Guess the Genocide. We were going to play War Crime Bingo. It was going to be brilliant. Okay? Grade A content. The selfish cunt went and fucking died instead. I'm furious. Honestly, I know how the Cambodians feel to have been wronged by this man. Partner push 2023. I apologise for nothing. Nothing.
He joined the Nixon White House despite long maintaining that Richard Nixon was not presidential material. He orchestrated these increasing...
Yeah, it's the same thing. Again, this is not some magical new thing. It's been around forever. People will serve fucking idiots in the White House. People went and served Donald Trump in the White House, even though he was patently underqualified and patently not suitable to be president in any fucking way. And people went and served there because you get to be the powerful person. Rex Tillerson could basically do what the fuck he liked. Because Donald Trump didn't do enough work to even understand what the fuck Rex Tillerson was up to as Secretary of State. He had no clue what was going on. You'd have to actually read your briefing papers to understand what foreign policy was being undertaken by your president, by your Secretary of State, wouldn't you? And Trump never did any of that work. Again, this is not some unique fucking quality that he possessed. This wasn't a unique opportunity he took advantage of.
Bombings of Vietnam and Cambodia.
He was a grubby little war criminal. He was a mass murderer. He was a fucking monster. There have been loads of those kinds of people. Unfortunately, there will probably be more of them in the future. He's not special. He's a cunt.
Despite all evidence indicating that the US could not win this war. A reminder that Henry Kissinger grew up being bullied and beaten up for being...
Good! No, good! He deserved to be bullied. You know what? In many respects, he wasn't bullied enough. This, if anything, if the Henry Kissinger story leaves us with any long-lasting notes that we need to change about human society, is that we should have bullied Henry Kissinger a lot more. We should have destroyed that little cunt.
A Jew in Nazi Germany. And then he fled that brutality to come
here and be anti-Semitic himself and serve fucking Nixon, who was an anti-Semite. Fuck off.
The United States, where he studied how power works between countries, but also between people. He used those skills to navigate himself into standing in the most powerful places in the world, next to the most powerful people.
Yeah, Christie did carpet bomb Austria, but to be fair, it was just Salzburg, so, you know. Actually, I should explain for people. Christy, my co-hostess with the co-hostess, who will be back tomorrow, and then probably on Saturday as well, I think. She went to Salzburg for a thing, and she said, just in passing, right, she was remarking upon how beautiful the city was. Salzburg, by the way, is a city in Germany. In Austria. It was in Germany during the war. Never mind, we'll get into it. So she went there for this conference, and she said the city was really beautiful, and she said, I can't remember exactly how she worded it, but it was slightly weird. She was like, the Nazis. She said something about the Nazis did. Sorry, the Allies didn't bomb this part of it flat, right? She was joking about like how some of the cities in Germany have areas that were so destroyed that they just are all like 50s and 60s new build shithole places, whereas Salzburg's really nice because they didn't flatten it. And so I was doing a joke behind the scenes about how. She was saying that the Allies should have bombed the shit out of Salzburg. They should have flattened it, which then turned in my usual fashion into Christie bombed the fuck out of Salzburg. So that's a meme now on the channel. Hello, Fogel.
In the world, the most powerful military in the world at his disposal, and the permission to use it as he saw fit. Henry Kissinger knew what it took to stay on top, and what it took was shifting alliances, secret bombing campaigns,
genocide and war crimes,
sabotaging peace talks, supporting dictators abroad, and the list goes on. I guess the point here is that Henry Kissinger's master guiding principle was to have no guiding principle. He infused that into his leadership, into his decisions, leading to the destruction of many lives around the globe, ripples that are still felt today. Even if Henry Kissinger were still alive, I believe he would never face true accountability for his actions. He played the
But he should have done. He should have done, shouldn't he?
Game too well. He's too liked by powerful people on both sides of the aisle. But ultimately, if we can learn
Yeah, he's a manipulative, evil cuntbag, yeah.
Anything from this, the death of Henry Kissinger gives us an opportunity to appreciate what can happen when too much power is concentrated in the hands of one man.
So you're not even going to say he didn't do... Was he a war criminal? You're not even going to mention that? You didn't even answer the question. Was Henry Kissinger a war criminal? The fact that you haven't said, yes, he is, tells me a lot about you, John. And you know what? You're a cunt. Please go and play Roblox. What a fucking wanker. Honest to God. Right. Israel-Palestine time. Let's go.
What's up, man? Nice to be on the show.
Yeah, nice to have you on. All's pretty informal here, so no need to stand on occasion. I appreciate you coming on. Tell chat watching who you are and also what you'd like to talk about.
Yeah, so my name is Ian Nasser Ramotarsing. I'm a political scientist from the Netherlands. I was born in Suriname, a beautiful country in South America. Might be a little bit unknown, but I like to represent them still. And yeah, I'm a big Ayn Rand fan. I'm an objectivist for like 15 years, but
an Ayn Rand fan. Ayn Rand.
I started out as a Marxist actually when I was 15, and I was actually very pro-Palestinian up until like 17, 18. Then I read Ayn Rand. My life changed.
What is it about Ayn Rand? Honestly, like, because Ayn Rand, I've never understood the pull of Ayn Rand. Why she convinces people at all. I've never understood that. I just don't get it. Like, You know, with music, even if you don't like the music, you can understand why another person would like it, right? This is like one of those songs that you just can't understand how it was ever a hit, you know? I don't get it.
And I became some sort of right-wing quasi-politician, opinion guy. I come on TV sometime, but I'm trying to promote libertarianism and objectivism in the Netherlands.
I gotta say, I'm very curious as to how libertarianism could possibly lead you to support Israel, considering the fact that in terms of like the representation of statehood, Israel is much more like willing to impose force on the freedom of individuals than anything.
Yeah, but they're like Palestinians, so they're not really people, are they? Is literally the position that a lot of Israeli defenders will take.
Like, represented by Palestine.
I get where you're coming from. I wouldn't say like I'm a fan of Israel. I would say if I would have to make a choice in the conflict, which side I would support, I would go with Israel because I think they respect individual rights more than Hamas, which is currently running Gaza. So in a situation where there would be some sort of secular or like moderate government in Gaza and they would be able to represent themselves, I would be fine with them having a Palestinian country. I would fully support that.
But there
so
was
in that
a
sense, yeah.
Well, hang on, what kind of libertarian are you if you want them to have a country? Does that make sense?
Well, there was a secular moderate government, and it was sort of like deliberately pushed out by Israel. Like Israel took the land, ethnically cleansed the area, have been restricting the rights of the Palestinian minority for nearly a century now, and Netanyahu and his predecessors have worked to push the Palestinians into a position where they're more and more likely to radicalize and sort of militantly oppose Israel, which I can't really blame them for, considering the fact that peace didn't really get them anywhere.
You mean you can't blame the Palestinians?
Yeah, I can't really blame the Palestinians for thinking that, like, militant terrorism is the only potential solution for them, considering the fact that, like, there were decades of, like, Palestinian Authority and efforts at peace talks, and it seemed like no matter what happened, just the Palestinian rights got eroded further and further.
But don't you agree with me that a lot of it is due to the Palestinian leadership? Like, there were plenty of opportunities where they had like good offers on the table. And let's be honest, they lost many wars. You and I both know how wars work. If you fight a war, you lose land. That's how it always used to work up until now.
Well,
so if you lose like 3 wars in a row and you still get offered 92%, like that's a pretty good deal. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, that's not what happened. The area was controlled by the British Mandate, and when they decided to engage in the Zionist project, they engaged in the Nakba, and they deposed hundreds of thousands of people, a process which began before there was even any direct conflict. Like, this opened with ethnic cleansing. And since then, Palestinians have sort of lost, but I don't...
The Netherlands do not need objectivism. Nowhere needs objectivism. Nowhere. We're going to go 1.25. Let's try and get through some of it. It does get spicy, though. I've seen some clips.
Really believe in might makes right. Like, I don't think that because you've won a war of conquest, you get to just indefinitely genocide the lesser ethnic group.
Well, a lot hangs on the word conquest there. So you're saying that when the Nakba started, it wasn't triggered by anything. It was just Israel just came in, threw those people out. There was no aggression initially from the Arab states surrounding. There was no disagreement about the peace deal. There were no Arab resentments about this Jewish state in their midst.
I don't like
Is that what you're claiming?
Look. In chat, do not badmouth Midnight. Do not badmouth George Santos. Okay, George Santos is the greatest living American. I think I can say that conclusively because he said so. Okay. And he wouldn't claim it if it weren't true. So it's a fact. The fact that they are hounding this innocent man, this beautiful, innocent, unbelievably silly human being, out of Congress, and they're probably going to get rid of him next week, is a disgrace. Honestly, I think there needs to be a Civil War II Electric Boogaloo. The Santosians need to rise again. Okay? He's beautiful. I'll miss him when he's gone. Actually, no, I won't. He's funny, though. He's a good meme. They are jealous of George. He's a beautiful, beautiful creature, inside and out.
I don't like the implication that Palestinians and everyone associated with them has to be perfect and peaceful at all times, or it's justified to do a genocide against them. Like, Palestinians and the Arab states have done things that I find disagreeable. None of that changes the fact that Israel chooses to commit a genocide, chooses to deprive them of their rights, chooses to keep them in an apartheid state. Like, the idea of, even if we were to accept the idea that, like, the Palestinians have consistently been the ones to engage in aggression, which is simply not true. The opening of this whole thing, the Nakba, was predicated by scuffling in the area between, like, Jewish, British, and Arab groups, but the mass violence was absolutely put forward first, you know, by the Israelis with the sort of, like, implied permission of the British mandate. But even with all that taken, like, acknowledged, you know, right now Israel has the power, and they're using that power to commit genocide and to commit ethnic cleansing. Nothing justifies that, even if the Palestinians have in the past been antagonistic to the concept of their own removal.
I don't like the use of the word genocide because I don't really find the proof for it. Like, if you look at the population numbers, they're always going up. I don't mean that like as a corny thing to say or something, but like, how is it a very genocide when they have all the power Israel has militarily, but the population keeps growing year by year, and you keep claiming it's a genocide? It's a little bit weird to me.
Well, the population doesn't necessarily have to decrease for the genocide, but even by the UN definition, it could be like to impose measures intended to prevent births within a group, or to forcibly transfer children, or to attempt to bring about the physical destruction of a group.
Yeah, in theory, a genocide doesn't even have to involve murder. In theory. Now, by and large, it would be difficult to name a genocide in which people weren't killed, but in theory you wouldn't even need to, because it can be displacement. It can be making the conditions of life difficult or impossible to continue. It can be removal of children from the group, things like that. You don't have to necessarily murder anybody for it to be genocide. The fact that Israel is murdering tens of thousands of people is also, you know, it adds to the genocidiness, the genociditude, if you will.
The reason that the population's been exploding is because a lot of Palestinians are crammed into an open-air prison where they have nothing to do but, like, they don't have much going on in there, you know. But like they're forced into a tiny tract of land. They're treated second.
To quote the great Pulp, we dance and drink and screw because there's nothing else to do.
Class citizens, their rights are being withered away. They're denied things like power and water and food. And right now we're seeing it. Like right now, like 2/3 of the population of the Gaza Strip is without housing. It's unlikely they'll be allowed to return to northern Gaza, which means this, at the very least, fits the definition of it.
I went to the shop earlier, right, and I was getting like a loaf of bread and some milk and stuff. And I saw at the Curb Mile they had like a party section. So there's like different various bits you can have for a party, right? And one of them, there was like a party poppers and like a party hat, you know, the traditional pointy hat with like a coloured tip on it or whatever. And I was sorely tempted to buy that, so that at the start of the show I could just have that like party hat on and just do the whole show as if I was in the middle of a party to celebrate the passing of a genocidal lunatic. Yeah. But I didn't, because it was quite expensive, and I thought, that's a bit too expensive for a joke. For a bit that I'm going to do once. Not worth it. Yeah, that's the party hat right there, face dabber. That sort of shit.
Ethnic cleansing, you know. But already 15,000 have died. I mean, it's very clearly like a war for eradication.
I don't find it clearly at all. Like, if this was a war for eradication, Israel would have been... They wouldn't have sent out warnings. They wouldn't have told people to leave for the south or for the north. I'm not sure. So it doesn't really fit. Or is this like all a big facade? I'm sorry. I get if you're saying war crimes. Maybe I can get along with that. But I just don't get the genocide claim. And I think it's like unnecessarily troubling to the discussion to call it a genocide.
Well, they give those warnings for our benefit, right? Like, the only reason, in my opinion, the only reason Israel hasn't just slaughtered all of them is because the world is watching. Like, there are limits to what Israel can get away with. The more it antagonizes its neighboring Arab states, the more it makes itself unpalatable to, like, American voters, the more Israel has to restrict itself. But in terms of, like, war for eradication, that's the only direction this is all going, right? Like, they've been continuing to expand illegal settlements in the West Bank for, like, over 50 years now. And with regards to the Gaza Strip, there doesn't seem to be, like, any other direction this is going. Like, what happens to the Palestinian people, right? In the West Bank, they're being pushed out illegally, like, bit by bit. And in the Gaza Strip, it's like, what are they supposed to do? Like, they don't control anything. They don't control their own resources, their food, their water, their power. There doesn't seem to be any effort to integrate them. Like, if you keep people in a prison forever, like, even right now, there are members of the Israeli government that are just openly saying, this is our chance to get them all out. Like, they're saying it openly.
Yeah. So like, I agree with you on this part. I think this situation brings out the worst on both sides, right? So obviously, all the extreme religious Israeli guys are going to seize this opportunity. I agree with you. This is their opportunity to get the land they always wanted, to make their Jewish religious dream come true, whatever the hell, right? I'm an atheist. I don't care for that shit.
But they're in the government.
Yeah, I was about to say, that's the Israeli fucking government, mate. That's Benjamin Netanyahu you're talking about. That's not just like a small number of like crazy bastards.
Doing it, though.
Yeah, I get it. But as long as Hamas exists, that's not
Hamas
not going to stop. Right? You agree with me? Like, as long as Hamas is ruling Gaza, those guys are not going to get voted out probably, or they're going to be popular. They're going to have influence.
So you're saying all Israel would have to do to genocide the Palestinians is make sure that Hamas is in charge?
I would say if you are an Israeli and you want to eradicate the Palestinians, yes,
well,
that would be in your
But that's what happened. Netanyahu funded Hamas, gave them money in briefcases, and had other like governmental organizations within the Gaza Strip declared terrorist organizations and arrested. Like, there's been a protracted effort from Israel.
Okay, but I'm also a big fan of agency, and now it sounds like there's only a one-way street, right? Like, Palestinians have free will. Palestinians can.
How much power do Palestinians have compared to the government of Israel? Like, on one hand, you have like the residents of an open-air prison, and on the other hand, you have a modern military nation-state backed by the most powerful country on earth.
I would say this: Palestinians have one of the most popular causes in the world. If they would have a couple of moderate guys representing them, they could make a lot of bank on this Palestinian cause.
They do.
They could have a great economy. They could have amazing economic opportunities.
Wait.
Well,
how would
they have to get rid of Hamas.
Wait. First of all, the Palestinian Authority already exists, and nobody pays attention to them. They haven't had an election since 2006, and Israel pushed Hamas to be in charge because they have power in the situation. Also, how would they have a great economy? They don't control their own anything.
Yeah, they'd have a great economy when Israel just randomly closes down the electric again. Yeah, ridiculous.
It's not a free country.
Well, obviously not at this moment. We agree on that. But geopolitically, don't you agree with me that having Hamas in power weakens their case?
Yeah, that's why Israel put them there.
Yeah. Okay, but you and I both agree that Hamas needs to go in order for the Palestinians to have any chance.
Yeah, but Hamas and the situation that led to Hamas was imposed by Israel. Like, if you continuously ethnically cleanse a group of people and show them that diplomacy doesn't matter because it doesn't lead to any gains, they'll choose terrorism. And that's not like...
Who is this joker? That's Vosh. Ba-dum. Ow. I don't know who this other cunt is, though.
That's not...
This on the right, this is the Kharkiv Kid Finder. And on the left is some wanker.
Palestinian specific. America did that in the American Revolution. Like, initially there were missives written to the King of England as a way of trying to like mitigate the taxes or try to like grant greater freedoms to the colonists. It was only after the chance at diplomacy seemed as though it couldn't like even work that we turned to terrorism. And that was what the American Revolution was to begin with. It was
exactly terrorist scum. We should have wiped them out. George Washington was the Osama bin Laden of his day. He was a monster. He didn't even have a cool beard. Prick.
Terrorism. It was people attacking, like, in a lot of cases, civilian targets, like, you know, royal appointed officials over here.
I like the idea that new people can't tell if I'm joking or not. I like that idea that Americans come in here and see me do that joke and be like, hang on, he's British. That could be real? Are they still holding a grudge against Washington? Yeah, and Jefferson. Fuck them.
To sort of like secure a political goal. Like, this is how it always happens, right? You give people hope for diplomacy, and if you can't give them that, like, they will take violence. But that's not like the Palestinians' fault. That's just what Israel's forced on them.
But it is the Palestinians' fault that they're ruled by Hamas, right?
Well, I don't think so, no.
It just happened to them. They all just chose Hamas involuntarily. Come on, like,
well, no,
the
conditions that they had a secular popular leadership. It didn't do anything. Hamas was directly funded by Netanyahu. Like, the idea to just throw your arms up in the air and go like, oh, guess they chose this, like, really kind of overwrites. If they just chose this, Israel wouldn't have had to put their thumb on the scale so aggressively.
I wouldn't go so far as to say.
Also,
I
quick
guess
question.
they chose this.
Wait, really
Yeah,
quickly.
sure.
As an anti-statist, why do you even care that they support Hamas? Hamas is an anti-state, like terrorist organization that's trying to break the back of the of the statehood that is violating their rights. Like, principally speaking, shouldn't you be in favor of terrorism if it means breaking a population free from tyrannical statehood?
Well, I'm not an ANCAP, so I'm a minarchist, right? So I don't consider government to be an evil concept. I just think government needs to be strictly limited. So in that sense, I am an anti-statist if you're talking about interfering with the economy, taxation, all that stuff, but not when it comes to like there are legitimate functions of government.
Like having an army to genocide people. Whoop whoop. That's freedom, baby.
Recognize a couple of them.
Well, then you're not
Defense.
like libertarian,
So I'm not
right?
an ANCAP. So I'm not an ANCAP.
Well, you're not a libertarian. You're in favor of literally the most tyrannical element of statehood. You're like, I don't want there to be business taxes, but I am okay with police states and authoritarian regimes.
Well, I don't know how you guys have it in the US, but in the Netherlands, there are not that many libertarians. So the few that are there are separated by minarchism and ANCAPs. So the objectivists are always the minarchists. Then you have some Friedmanites, you have some Hayekians. They are minarchists. And then you have the ANCAPs. They like Rothbard, they like Hoppe. And that's basically the split in the Netherlands. But it's a very small fringe group here.
I mean, I'm also a libertarian, but like that stems fundamentally from desire for freedom.
Well, you say you're libertarian. I think it's a interesting.
Well, I believe in
case
freedom
you
for
make.
people, not freedom for corporations. But, you know, whatever the case may be, like, there is no freedom in the Gaza Strip. Like, they literally are in a fence. Like, they're fenced off. There are automatic turrets and security cameras and snipers pointed inward at all times. Like, we're talking about a group of people who are, like, America, to some element at least, is a police state. They literally live in a prison. Like, they can't leave. Like, they're just kept in a camp, you know? Like,
Yeah,
it seems
but
like
they
Hamas is sort of like the,
Exactly.
you know...
The people of Gaza can't leave. The people of America just choose not to.
In that context, you think that's a pretty appropriate breakage of statehood?
No, but come on, man. Like Hamas is misusing a lot of funds. Hamas is destroying the water supply by building rockets with that shit.
Wait,
Like, they're not
Israel
helping their
cuts off
people.
the water supply. Wait. If you have an issue with the water supply in the Gaza Strip, that's on Israel, nobody else. They literally cut and restrict water access over there. So Hamas tears up a few pipes to fight back against the state that's bleeding them dry, and that makes them responsible for the...
Really? Is he a
what's the
race
problem with just
realist,
admitting that,
this
like,
guy?
Israel is creating all of these
Wow.
negative situations?
That's fucking wild.
Well, a lot of these measures that they're taking, I'm not going to vouch for all of them, obviously. But a lot of these measurements they're taking, like cutting off the border, obviously I'm going to cut off the border. If I'm neighboring a country that is sending rockets my way,
It's not a
I'm
country.
not going to... A piece of land, for the argument's sake.
But-
why would I open my border to that country?
It's not
Like, there's
opening a
no
border.
benefit.
It's part of your country.
It's not part of their country.
It is. It is literally... The Gaza Strip is controlled by Israel. They have control over the resources. They control whether or not stuff goes in or out. They control the water, the electricity.
Only on their side of the border, right? They don't control the Egyptian border.
No, well, I don't know. Israel, like, missile striked it
Come on.
multiple times and blocked stuff from getting through. So it seems like they
Come
kind of
on.
control that too.
It's interesting how like no one has any agency except Israel. Like even
yes.
Egypt now
No,
is
wait,
like
no,
just a sitting duck.
No,
right?
Egypt still has agency. Israel strikes the Palestinian side of that crossing. But yeah, Israel is the modern nuclear state backed by the world's most powerful countries. And the Gaza Strip is a group of 2 million desperately poor people in a ghetto the size of Seattle. Like, yeah, there's a pretty huge difference in power.
So you're saying Egypt cannot open up the border, make sure that a lot of food gets in, supply them with stuff. It's impossible.
You can literally look up like stuff Israel has done to prevent the admission of stuff into
Honestly, this guy, I don't know who the fuck he is just an ignorant prick who doesn't seem to understand even the most basic tenets of what this is, what this situation comprises.
The Gaza Strip. But also, I'm not arguing that Egypt is good. I don't like Egypt. I'm saying that in terms of like what is happening to the Gaza Strip, like the negative circumstances here are controlled by Israel. Like, imagine if a country, like a nation state, arbitrarily arrested millions of people and put them in a big camp and basically like humiliated and tortured them like for years and years and decades and decades and decades.
Are we talking about the US in prison industrial complex? Ayo!
And over time, things got worse in that camp, and they formed like prison gangs. And eventually, the biggest, meanest prison gang.
Cosmo fucking politics. How are we? Everyone go and follow Cosmopolitics. A cool ass streamer.
With like the white skinheads or whatever was like, listen, folks, okay, I know you don't all like me, but I'm the only one tough enough here to break us out of here. And then like you look at the situation, you're like, ah, well, look, they've decided to side with these like skinheads or whatever to break out of prison. How is it the fault of the prisoners? When in reality, the whole condition, like everything that led to this, was constructed.
Yeah, but you're leaving out so much context. Like, for instance, even if you go back to the Nakba incident, right, from 1948, I think it was. Yeah, like, I am sure that there was aggression.
Also, Cosmopolitics, you should come on my charity stream on Saturday. We're going to play Gartic Phone. It should be fun. You don't have to. Maybe you're busy. I don't know. But the offer is open.
on the side of Arab states, and they convinced the Palestinians to like let us have a go at Israel, and it failed, and Israel clapped back. That is not saying the clapback was fully good. Obviously,
Also,
I'm
can
sure
we
there
get
were
a
war
shout
crimes
out
on
for
both sides.
Cosmopolitics,
I
please?
acknowledge all that. But
So wait, what do you think
terms-
happened?
yeah.
Shout out for Cosmopolitics. Shout out for Cosmopolitics.
What I think happened, I think there were tensions. I think the Arabs were very displeased with how the land was divided up, and I might even agree with them on that for a great part. And the Arab states surrounding were not happy, like Syria. So they said to the Palestinians, like, let's have at them. And then it failed.
So-
and Israel clapped back and took like Jerusalem and took
No.
pieces of land.
No, in 48, the Palestinians lived there. The British mandate in the area, like that was like Arab territory. There were Jewish groups there, but like for the most part, like the Palestinians.
And they bought a lot of land, those Jewish groups.
Yeah, well, the United Nations voted on the partition plan, which divided the territory into Jewish and Arab sovereign states. The plan was rejected by Palestinian leaders, but their word didn't count for much. So with like foreign rule and imposition dividing people up, it led to increasing conflict until eventually, with overwhelming military might and munitions backed by the British, the Zionists cleared out nearly 1 million Palestinians and took over most of the land that was controlled by Palestinians. This wasn't like a back and forth between two militaries. There were indigenous people in the land, and based on the imposition of foreign governments, because a bunch of European powers felt guilty about the whole World War II thing and really wanted to make sure they could establish a sovereign Jewish state, they did so there, and it ended up in like the literal ethnic cleansing of the area. Like just, it wasn't like a back and forth. Like the power differential was massive.
No, but I'm not saying the Palestinians had like their army and they were threatening Israel. I'm saying the surrounding Arab states, they had armies.
I'm only
So
talking
there was
about
a military threat.
Sure, but I'm talking about the mistreatment of the Palestinians, which isn't justified by the fact that other Arab states are mad in the area. Like, I think the Arab states kind of had a right to be mad. All of their borders were decided by European powers, and then the European powers are like, oh, here's another country, here's a bunch of Jewish people, here you go. Also, we're kicking out 1 million Palestinians to put them there. Like, yeah, that'll make people mad.
I think we can both agree that like carving up land after World War I and II, like a lot of people got fucked over. The Kurds got fucked over. In this case, you could say the Palestinians got the raw end of the deal. I'm not denying that, but if you look at the cards they were dealt in 1948, do you think that they could have chosen a better path than they had? Relying on their Arab nations to keep attacking Israel, fully going for terrorism.
But you're simplifying.
Rejecting all those offers they got after all that happened. Like even in
What
2000,
offers?
they got an amazing deal.
What offer? What deal? Well, so wait, first of all, I reject the premise here. I reject the premise here. Because every group could have done better always. Like, that doesn't mean anything. But in terms of, like, how things have gone since then, for the Palestinian people, it has just been the slow loss of their rights and the crushing of their land into a smaller and smaller portion. This isn't, like, subjective or whatever. The UN keeps denouncing this, but the US is on the Security Council, and we care about Israel continuing to exist, so we back them. Like, the idea that the treatment of the Palestinian people has been continuously horrendous and, unjustifiable is a broadly held position. The Palestinians aren't doing anything to the Israelis. Like, what is there, like, an Israeli state that's being crushed into nothing, and 1 million Israelis being dispossessed the other way around? Like, there's no comparison. There is very clearly one powerful group and one powerless group getting squeezed tighter and tighter over time. Now we're seeing it break.
Like, I would see it from a different perspective. I would say they got a raw end of the deal in 48. They handled it in the worst possible way.
How?
They lost the first couple of wars.
Wait, the Palestinians didn't...
They handled it in the worst way, by getting murdered. What? You're a lunatic, mate.
What war are you referring to?
The leadership of the Palestinians.
What war are you referring to?
The 67, the 73, the 48, like there are a lot.
Wait. Those weren't...
Summer of 69.
Israeli... those weren't Israeli-Palestinian wars. The first one, but with 48, was the Israeli-Palestinian war. But in other ones, there were other Arab nations.
Yeah, but if you allow them to attack, like they did it, you're saying like those other Arab nations just happened to attack. The Palestinians were like, okay, well, if you want to have a go at Israel, go ahead. We don't, like, honestly.
Why would they not do that? They were invaded. The Palestinians were like being crushed in their own... Why would they not back the Arabs?
Sure, back the Arabs. But if you then lose, you're not going to get the same land back. That's all I'm saying. I could even understand that they're going with the Arabs. I can get their perspective, obviously. But if you then lose again and again, at a certain point, you're going to have to recalibrate and say, hold up, we're not going to defeat these guys militarily. We have to search for another strategy.
But again, the Palestinians...
That's just pragmatically.
The Palestinians haven't been trying to defeat Israel militarily. From 48 up until the 80s, the primary mode of engagement from Palestinians was diplomacy. There were multiple efforts, time and time again, to try to negotiate like their territory, their settlements back, the rights that they had lost. The fact that other Arab nations had invaded Israel multiple times doesn't mean that Israel's justified in continuing a genocide against the Palestinians.
But those other Arab nations also held big chunks of land for decades, and they didn't give those chunks of land to the Palestinians.
So I'm not here to morally judge Syria or Lebanon or whatever. I'm just talking about Israel mistreating Palestinians. That's it. Nothing any other nation does justifies that.
Well, if those other nations are threatening Israel with invasion, and if they're funding groups in Palestine, it obviously does matter.
Well, Israel's also funding
relevant.
Hamas, to be fair. So no, it's not. We're not talking about Egypt or any of these countries. It's just about what Israel is choosing to do with the Palestinians. Israel could have chosen to make Palestinians full citizens of Israel in like a one-state solution kind of way, but they didn't want to. They wanted a Jewish ethno-state. So instead, they restricted the rights of Palestinians, illegally stole their territories in the West Bank, and crushed them in the Gaza Strip. And like nothing the Palestinians do or ever do will justify that. There's no point where a minority population does a thing bad enough that it becomes okay to ethnically cleanse them. That's literally that's a war crime.
First off, like I don't think a one-state solution will ever work. Let's just be realistic.
Jews and Arabs lived here together until the formation of Israel.
I'm saying it won't work now. I'm not saying it couldn't have worked in the past. I'm saying how the tensions are now, it's not going to work. Putting all these people in one state, the Jews are going to be demographically drowned. It's not going to happen. There's not ever going to be a chance of that.
Yeah,
happening.
because the Israelis
are
because I agree, but that's because the Israelis want an ethno-state. They literally like had the potential for a single state solution. They chose not to.
But the land was divided in 48. They just wanted to keep that separation intact. That's fine, right?
It shouldn't have been divided. What right does the UN have to decide that 1 million Palestinian people are on the wrong side of a line?
Okay, but we could say this about so many borders that have been drawn.
Yeah.
So so you're saying like things were unfair back then. Like, yeah, I get you.
Yes,
like,
it was bad.
Things were unfair back then.
And
yeah.
Israel continues to do bad things to this day. But yes, like that was bad. And
also, what kind of libertarian is this? Who's like, oh, but borders. All of the borders need to be respected in every way possible. What the fuck are you doing? You're the worst libertarian ever.
Continues to be bad. Israel like did a bad thing then, but they could have made it right. You know, they could have taken the land they had and gone, okay, well, we've built like a sort of, you know, Jewish-oriented secular democracy in the Middle East, and now we're going to make it equal for everyone. You know, what a modern country should do. But instead, you know, Palestinians are second-class citizens in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. You know, they have their rights restricted, and for a lot of Palestinians who live in Israel as citizens of Israel, there are still specific scrutinies they're held to. It's not an equal country. And
Palestinians could have said, at a certain point, hey, this military thing, it's not working out for us. We keep losing land.
Have a military.
No, but like supporting our neighbors in attacking Israel, if you want to call it that, is not really working for us.
If they're being kept in camps, why would they not support the enemies of the country imprisoning them? Like if you were in like Nazi Germany and you got put in a camp and the Soviets invaded and freed your camp, would you like fight the Soviets too? Of course they're going to side against their oppressors, you know?
They could have said,
don't give this guy the opportunity to be in Nazi Germany, because I don't think he'd be as against that proposition as you might want him to be.
To their Arab nations, you know what, if you really like us that much, why don't you guys support us in another way and not like paying us to have suicide attacks?
Like what?
Why don't you pay us and invest in our country, create
Israel doesn't allow it.
Economy?
Israel, I don't know what you think is going on down there. Israel doesn't let them have their own economy. Like they're not a separate country.
But you. Well, I don't know. My TV just talked to me. But you just said Israel can't get away with everything, right? The whole world is watching. So you're telling me that if there was like some moderate government in Palestine, Palestinian Authority, that would invite the Arab nations that used to attack Israel and would ask them, invest in our economy, we want to make a nice democratic state over here, they know that would be very good for their profile. Do you think America would say, nah, Israel, we got to put it down?
There was. The Palestine Liberation Organization was a non-violent governmental org that tried to represent the Palestinian people and try to get a diplomatic solution to the many, many human rights abuses Palestinians suffered from. And it didn't go anywhere.
And that's all up to the Israelis.
Well, I don't know what you mean by that. The Palestinians had a non-violent government. Like it didn't lead anywhere. Israel's continued to crush them with time. Like what? So out of curiosity, let's say the Palestinians have, you know, they did. So this isn't hypothetical, but let's say they had a like a non-violent coalition that tried to like seek diplomatic resolution with Israel, and Israel just kept violating their human rights and didn't do anything, and nothing got better. What would you suggest the Palestinian people do?
In that case, I think, because the world is watching, that a country like America, countries like France, would definitely intervene.
But that happened and they didn't. Okay, but what if they didn't?
Well, obviously, everyone has a right to self-defense.
Ayn Rand on Israel. Oh no.
against?
I'd like to know your opinion on the United States' foreign policy and what is happening in the Middle East right now.
Right now, I'm not sure we know what's happening. I think the United States foreign policy has been disgraceful for years, for decades. I would say roughly since the New Deal, and in part even before that. But if you mean whose side should one be on, Israel or the Arabs, I would certainly say Israel because it's the advanced, technological, civilized country.
Civilized indeed. If any reason, as if I needed any more reason not to want Israel to flourish than the fact that Ayn Rand liked it. Jesus, can we get some lols in chat for this bitch being dead?
Defense, right? So, like, I'm gonna agree with that. Yeah, okay. In that case, then I would grant your point. Yeah, if that happens, then I would say the Israelis are not within the realms of reason. I agree with you, Vash. If that would happen.
So then, what should the Palestinians do then, hypothetically, if Israel was not conducive to like democratic solution making?
Well, they could offer, obviously they could fight back, but I would say we again have the war crime definition here. I wouldn't support killing civilians,
which Israel does lots of, so that's cool.
So you're okay theoretically with the formation of Hamas as long as they only target military structures and members.
Yeah, if you have a hypothetical situation where they had a moderate government, they swore off the attacks, there were no like rewards for people who blow themselves up, all that stuff was not happening. Yeah, like I would give them a chance. I would say, in that case, Israel, you don't have a right. There is no Hamas, right? There's no threat. So in that case, Israel wouldn't have the right to bomb. I fully agree.
But what if Israel just kept bombing and controlling and taking the rights away anyway?
Well, then they would obviously be in the wrong, and I might switch. I might say, well, the morality now has come on the side of the Palestinians.
Well, but what should the Palestinians do?
Position. Resist. Obviously, that's what I would do.
Okay, so like, I don't.
You're sounding very Hamas right now, my friend. Very Hamas indeed.
Like Hamas, mostly because they're militant and jihadist. But in terms of like the idea of militant resistance to the state of Israel, what we're describing...
I don't disagree with military resistance. Because that's not my main point against the Palestinians. My point is that they're being used or letting themselves be used because they have agency by Arab nations, by Iran, and those countries are using the Palestine issue to stave off like internal conflicts. To like Erdogan keeps using Palestine whenever he needs a boost in the polls. So they're becoming like a play ball of all these Arab nations, and they're not getting a good deal out of this because they're the ones getting bombed. But they also are ruled by a dictatorship that they put in power 15 years ago. So they have like a lot of troubles, a lot of hurdles.
What if back in 2006 when they had that election, Hamas was the only party that presented like potentially a real solution? Because the other group, Fatah...
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she didn't want people to intervene in World War II. Yeah, Sean, to be honest, yeah.
Group that was opposed to Hamas had been trying diplomatically to engage with Israel for a long time, and nothing had happened. In fact, things were getting worse. Year after year, things were getting worse. So if you're one of the like millions of Palestinian people and you have two options, one of them is the status quo where you continue to die and rot in a cage. You have no freedom and you'll never have any freedom. You don't have the kind of citizenship that you could use to leave the country. Egypt won't let you through their border. You can't travel into Israel unless you're one of the lucky few that gets a work visa. In all likelihood, you'll eventually die either to malnutrition or to a bomb or to a disease that you could have had easily treated if you lived in Israel where there are like hospitals that actually work and have enough beds. Or you go with Hamas, a party that says, hey, listen, you know what? Things really suck and diplomacy isn't working. Maybe jihad will. Maybe the only way to break the back of our oppressors is through violent Islamic militant action. Can you understand how...
Oh, this is an absolute banger from the Greek newspaper. Based. Fucking based. I know little of the Greek media, but on this one, nailed it, bro. Fucking nailed it.
How, given that situation, given the fact that a lot of these Palestinians were born in the ghetto, raised in the ghetto, and died in the ghetto, that a lot of them might think the status quo is not working. Like, maybe I should join Hamas.
I can understand radicalization. I can understand young kids in Palestine growing up that way, thinking this is the way to go. I can understand it. I'm saying as a political scientist, it's not working for them. Pragmatically,
it's not working.
It's not working for them.
But whether or not it's working for them isn't up to them, because diplomacy wasn't either. Like, it's to the Palestinian people. It's, do you die young fighting for your people, or do you die middle aged because of like malnutrition? You know, like to them, this situation, like, who the f cares? Why should they care about their own lives? It's not like they have any in those cages. The people making this choice for them is Israel. Like, all Israel would have to do is give them something, anything. If you want Hamas to go away, by the way, all Israel would have to do is actually engage in diplomatic negotiations, pull back their illegal settlements in the West Bank, allow Palestinians to return to them, pull people from the Gaza Strip over to those settlements, or like open up land around it, or give like greater permissions or freedoms, or say, okay, electricity and water's on the house, you know, no more like sanctioning or like cutting off any of those. If they did that, people wouldn't join Hamas anymore, because they would realize that there's something to work for, something to believe in, you know?
Didn't they try this in 2005? Didn't Sharon remove a lot of settlers?
No.
Didn't he go against like the most right-wing Jewish fraction in his own party to get that done? He went against all those guys. I mean, because he really believed in it. Like, I'm not saying
you mean in the West Bank?
Not. Yeah.
I mean, the settler, like the settler movement has continued. Sharon didn't Sharon like suffer consequences for that? Like he went against the right-wing people.
Yeah, he went against them. But I'm saying, like, there have been moves to say, okay, more hands-off approach. You guys figure it out, and you cannot say that the Palestinian response has been great.
Well, yeah, because it didn't work. Like, that's the thing. In order for Palestinians, in order for people who have been ethnically cleansed and brutalized for nearly a century, you can't just give them one politician who promises something good and then dies, because he got a stroke.
No, but
right
he did.
after that.
But he did do something. He didn't just say it. Right?
Sure. But then it clearly didn't keep, right? Because right now the settlement movement, or the settler movement, is faster than ever. Right now, as we speak, there are settlers that have been armed by the IDF that are illegally moving to like Palestinian settlements in the West Bank and clearing them out, literally just gunning them down. There have been over 200 now Palestinian deaths in the West Bank since October 7th, and a lot of it is just settlers and the IDF just clearing people out. And there's a scuffle, some guy throws a rock, they get shot, you know. If like the Israeli people are the ones, you know, Israel is the one who has done this brutality, they need to show real good faith, and that means years of reparations. I don't mean like one politician does one good law. I mean like, they need to like dedicate themselves to repairing this, to mending this, you know? Like, the Palestinian people deserve the prostration after everything that's been done to them, and then maybe we will have peace. But until then, why would they not choose Hamas?
Because the Hamas approach is not working for them.
So neither was diplomacy. At least this way they die fighting.
I would say the first problem for the Palestinians.
What's this? If this comes in Nazi Germany, we would fall through to goose-stepping Nazi, for he was to believe that skin colour is limited to IQ, and kept doing it, calling for he was compared to a Nazi and called out. He was his hypermental, also thinks gay rights shouldn't exist because the gays are smarter and thus should be forced to procreate. I wish I was lying here. Oh God, he's a freak. Okay. Well, thank you for that extra Dutchness, using nameless entity. I appreciate that in a very Dutch way. It's been a very Dutch-heavy show. We've had Bergkamp, we've had this twat. Yeah, it's been a fun time. The best and worst of the Netherlands, I think we can agree. Anyway, what was this? Anyway, yeah, let's just...
Indians is to get rid of Hamas.
They didn't have Hamas for decades, and it still didn't work. Israel needs to be the one. Israel has shown that they will not do good on Palestinians whether or not Hamas is there. When Fatah was in power, they still didn't do good to the Palestinians. The only hope is for Israel to put the first foot forward. And again, Israel's the one with the power. What would Palestinians even do right now? 3/4 of the people in the West Bank have fled their homes. Like what? Like they're going to have like a democratic election while all of them are huddling in refugee tents trying like not to get bombed or whatever. Like Israel is the one with the power. They can turn the water on like that. They can stop the bombing like that. They can, turn the electricity on like that. The Palestinian people deserve it. Does Israel, the state of Israel, deserve to not be heckled by Hamas? Honestly, the state of Israel has done a million times worse to the Palestinian people than Hamas has ever done to Israel. In terms of like moral culpability, Israel's job first is to apologize and to act, I think.
Okay, let me sketch you a scenario, right? So let's say Hamas is almost eradicated. There's a new, more moderate government installed in Gaza.
I don't think you can eradicate Hamas, to be clear, but...
Okay, yeah, sure. It's going to be a tough one. I get it. In response, Netanyahu gets voted out in a couple of months. A more moderate Israeli prime minister comes in. Okay. There's some perspective there. But if they're going to gamble on Hamas again, this is not going to work for them.
It's
Just
not,
from the Palestinian view, right? If you have a choice right now, knowing that Netanyahu can really lose the next election, what is more pragmatic to do right now? Support Hamas or say, let's go a more moderate route now because there might be a window of opportunity here.
You are talking about an area where 3/4 of the people are in refugee camps. They haven't had an election in almost 20 years. You're asking for them to suddenly engage in like this anti-sociological paradigm shift when they have no reason to believe anything will change. Meanwhile, Israel, which has all the power, should not put forward the first, the first apology. No, I disagree strongly. Right now, like you are looking at a situation where one person is on the ground being beaten to death, and you are asking them, not the person with the hammer, to act well and to be trustful that he might, stay his hammer if they're kind, or like you're running up to the guy who's being like beaten with a bat, and you're like, dude, if you apologize loud enough, maybe they'll stop beating you with a bat, even though they beat you with a bat when you were apologizing to begin with, No. It's Israel that has to do the work here. And I don't understand what the opposition is to this, Like, why not? Like, the settlements in the West Bank are illegal. They have to give them up, The treatment of the people in the Gaza Strip is illegal, They have to stop.
I agree with you on the settlements. I don't agree with you on, this is how I view it, right? If Israel pulls back now, it will seem like a reward for...
Some hardcore punk band should call themselves the Dead Kissingers. That's pretty good. I approve.
What Hamas has done. Do you agree with me? If they would like loosen up right now, if they hadn't gone in like a couple of weeks ago.
You don't get to do literal war crimes because not doing war crimes would be seen as being conciliatory to the terrorist group. They've already killed like 15,000 people. Like, that's not a justification. Like, oh, they have to keep killing civilians because otherwise they'll look weak. I don't care. Make them look weak. Let Hamas have the win. I don't care.
Well, but they're going after Hamas. They're not just bombing people randomly.
They
right?
are. They literally are. Like, they are literally just...
Evidence.
They've literally been striking like hospitals and refugee camps. The reason Israel hasn't been bragging about Hamas casualties is because there are basically none. Like Hamas isn't that stupid. There are tunnels. They fled to the south the moment they realized they would be invading from the north. Like 15,000 dead. How many of them are Hamas insurgents? Israel can't even point to what? A few dozen? It's like nothing. It's just civilians. They open the war by like missile striking a bunch of Palestinian journalist houses where they live, their homes, directly with precision munitions. Like their goal here was not to clear out Hamas. They've been wanting to kill the Palestinians for a long time. There are politicians in government literally saying, like, here's our chance to get rid of them, Netanyahu compared them to biblical enemies of Israel. Like, they're here to play for keeps. This is not like, they're not going to hold off.
No, I fully agree that the most hawkish guys are going to use this opportunity. Definitely.
But those people are in power. Like, those are the people in power.
Yes, but on the Israeli side, at least we have elections, so we have a chance to get rid of them. On the Palestinian side, there are no elections, so we don't have a chance to get rid of them.
There's no need to get rid of them with an election. Hamas will go away if the Palestinian people are given an opportunity to live their lives in peace. Nobody jumps into jihadist insurgency when their life is going well.
True.
And also, what election? Well, 3/4 of them have been ousted from their homes. Like, you're running up to a person who's being beaten to death with a bat, Like, what they're...
Well, the point you made about radicalization is not true. Like, especially in Europe, there are a lot of guys who radicalized, who are like very highly educated, like very smart guys.
Yeah, but in terms
ISIS.
In terms of like the jihadist militarization thing, like we saw with ISIS, we see with the Taliban, we saw with the Mujahideen, we've seen with Hamas, over and over and over again. It's oppression and foreign imposition that does this to them. ISIS, after our invasion of Iraq and the destabilization and power vacuum, the Taliban and the Mujahideen because of the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, and Hamas because of decades of Israel not playing ball with attempts at diplomacy from the Palestinians. Like, the reason Hamas exists is because people think diplomacy cannot give them anything. That diplomacy can't work. And right now it seems it can't. Like, it hasn't worked.
So you don't think the reason Hamas exists is because these people have a certain Islamic view of violence and they agree with Hamas that they want to kill the Jews?
What do you mean what do you mean Islamic view of violence? The only people doing mass killings, right?
Jihad, right?
The only group here doing mass killings are the Jews. They're the ones doing the mass killings.
No,
the mass killings are happening.
Not the Jews. Israel and the Israeli Defense Force. Let's not slip into that kind of use of language, shall we?
Not hypothetically, but in reality, and they're being done by an advanced military state, and it's the Jews doing it. Like, that's the group doing it.
Hamas is doing all the killing it can do. You agree with me on that, right?
What does that even mean?
Well, literally what it says, like, everyone they can kill, they will kill. They showed that when they had a couple of hours in Israel.
No,
if they had the opportunity,
they didn't attack
the most.
Yeah? They didn't attack against Israeli civilians. Israel has been doing attacks against Palestinian civilians many times over.
They did attack Israeli civilians. I mean, not anywhere near as many as Israel has attacked of Palestinian civilians. That's quite a difficult phrase. Anyway, But they did. Yeah, there's no doubt. Hamas did attack Israeli civilians. There's no need to lie about that. Or to misstate it, whatever.
I don't like if your argument is that Hamas is somehow more violent than Israel, then this is like mathematically unprovable.
Well, I would say Hamas has less opportunity to be violent.
Almost like they have significantly less power.
I agree, they have less power. I agree. But it doesn't make them the moral side because they have less power.
I'm
not
doesn't
mean anything.
I'm not saying that Hamas is the moral side. I'm saying the Palestinians are, broadly.
Yeah, but as long as Hamas is a representative of the Palestinian people...
They weren't for decades.
You can't separate those two. You cannot
yeah, you can. Yeah, what you're describing is literally the pretext for a war crime. Collective punishment. You're describing...
All war is collective punishment.
No, it is not.
No, it isn't.
Absolutely.
Yes.
No, the indiscriminate slaughter of civilians because of the government, then you just think all war is war crimes.
No, I'm saying all war is collective punishment.
No, it is not.
No,
War
isn't.
is supposed to be militaries fighting other militaries. And if civilians die, it's either accidental or because they were incidental, like casualties when attacking military targets.
But Israel is taking measures in limiting civilian...
They are bombing indiscriminately. And them saying, hey, go to the south now. You have 24 hours to get down below this line we've drawn in the sand. And then missiles striking the caravan of people moving south.
That one was a Hamas attack. The one with the bus, you mean? That blew up?
The strike that killed like dozens of people that was on the direct line from them moving from the northern part to the southern part?
I know there was one where a bus blew up, which definitely wasn't Israel, but I'm not sure about all of them, so I'm not gonna...
An enormous number of civilians have died. Like, nobody in their right mind could call that... Like, why would Israel directly missile strike over a dozen Palestinian journalist houses if they weren't just trying to, like silence all of the people who could be reporting what they're doing?
Yeah, well, obviously, I wouldn't agree to that, so...
Well, but, hey, how can you believe... Like, no, but it's not just you can't agree to it. That's insane. This is the most deadly conflict for journalists in over 30 years, since the end of the Cold War. Like, Israel is... And it's not the Hamas that's doing that. Israel is cutting off everything, cutting off power, cutting off internet, killing the journalists, killing UN workers, Red Crescent and Red Cross workers. Like, the idea that this is some kind of targeted, like, restrained strike against Hamas is insane. That's just not happening.
I would say that Israel is restraining itself.
I just don't think that lines up with, like, any sane assessment of the facts. Like, I guess they could nuke the Gaza Strip. Like, they're restraining themselves in the sense that they could do that. But in terms of, like, fighting this war responsibly and without collective punishment, the members of the Israeli government have literally invoked collective punishment. They have literally said, like, as long as Hamas, like, they're all Hamas. They all support Hamas, therefore they're all Hamas. They're invoking the war crime.
Yeah, but I do think that when you're fighting a dictatorship, it's different than when you're fighting a democracy.
There isn't a dictatorship there. It's just an open-air prison. It's not a country. They don't have a military.
But so you don't consider Hamas to be a dictatorship?
It's a prison that Israel created that has a prison gang that runs it. They had a government, and that government tried to fight for their rights, and it didn't work. Israel wouldn't listen.
But right now, Hamas is the governing institute in Gaza, right?
They are the only group with power there apart from Israel. Like, they're a prison gang, sure. Like, in the sense that a prison gang could take control of a prison, but who built the walls?
Okay, you know what? I get where you're coming from. I would just put way more agency with the Palestinians. I just think you're only viewing it from one side because they have more power.
I mean, generally speaking, the group with the more power is supposed to be the one to right the wrongs, especially when on one...
Or at least to show some element of proportionality or whatever, because they're the ones that can be disproportionate.
On hand, the Palestinians...
And indeed, Israel is being phenomenally disproportionate.
Palestinians have done basically nothing to Israel, and Israel has engaged in decades of genocide.
Well, come on. There were like a lot of attacks.
If you want to do like
before they built the wall, there were a lot of suicide attacks.
There have always been more deaths.
A lot of intifadas, a lot of rockets.
I am coming on here. If you want to compare the number of deaths on both sides, it has always been more Palestinians dead. The number of Palestinians, if you include the numbers who have been displaced from their homes, never to return because they've never been given a right to return, it goes into well over 1 million people. What does that compare to? Some bottle rockets fired across? Israel's a modern military state. Maybe they could just not do the ethnic cleansing. Maybe Israel could use its enormous power to just do what every other modern Western state has done and not be an apartheid state. But they can't do it because they are obsessed with the idea of being a Jewish ethno-state. So they won't. The people there, both Israelis and many of them, because Israelis tend to be pretty far right in the issue, and their government are militantly opposed to the idea of handing over any power in government to Arabs.
Yep.
I don't believe in counting dead bodies to determine who's in the right.
Well, that's convenient for Israel, considering the way things have stacked up.
No, because if it were the other way around in any other conflict, I still wouldn't use that measurement. Like if Ukraine now starts killing like a lot of Russian soldiers and they like end up killing way more.
Those are Russian
like,
soldiers, not civilians. If Ukraine started killing a bunch of Russian civilians, that actually would change things quite a bit.
It would? So you're saying that if Ukraine right now started bombing Russian cities like Russia is bombing Ukrainian cities, even if Ukraine is defending itself and bombing because they want Russia to leave their country, you would say that the moment they kill more, they're in the wrong.
Yes.
That's a ridiculous.
Well, it's not just that they're in the wrong, because again, this isn't a team sport. It's not Russia bad, Ukraine good, on like some absolute universal level, and then it reaches a tipping point. Like, you can have a situation where Ukraine has the right to defend itself, and does so in perfectly reasonable ways, but might overstep the mark. Maybe it does drop bombs in a civilian area. Maybe it does target the wrong thing. Maybe it cracks down on certain civil liberties in ways that war governments tend to, and that I would not necessarily support, right? But that doesn't make them bad or the bad guys or whatever. It just means that you can have a complex and nuanced view on things, because it's not literally red team versus blue team, my team good, your team bad. It's international affairs. It's a very complex situation. And your childish, pathetic view of it tells me a lot about why Ayn Rand convinced you. Really? Because you're a fucking simpleton.
Ridiculous standard.
No, that's called war crimes. Yeah, just because your country is being invaded and the Russians commit war crimes does not mean that you get to go, oh, well, guess we'll do yours, and then start strategically bombing like Moscow or whatever. Yeah, they're war crimes.
So you're saying that if you're invaded by a country, you don't have the right to bomb that country in order to get them to leave your country?
Yeah, you can, not indiscriminately. Russia is not bombing Ukrainian cities and only targeting military targets. Russia is just leveling Ukrainian cities. If Ukraine if Ukraine engaged in targeted bombing of military assets, that might lead to some civilian casualties, but I think that's acceptable within the rules of war. What Russia has done to Ukraine, and what Israel is doing right now to the Gaza Strip, is just indiscriminate civilian massacre.
Well, I believe that the Russians are doing it indiscriminately. I don't think the Israelis are. But
I just don't think that's. I mean,
you're an idiot, mate, or a liar, or both, whatever.
You can agree or disagree. Like the numbers, like every humanitarian rights group on the planet is like ringing alarm bells right now. The people whose job it is to study genocide are ringing the alarm bells.
The numbers count is just not a good argument. Like there are so many other arguments. Just don't use the numbers count. It's just stupid.
Yeah, he's from Suriname, but he's a Dutch citizen. So like Edgar Davids, but Edgar Davids was like a really good footballer, and this guy is an idiot. So, you know, like all places, Suriname creates good and bad.
2 months and 15,000 dead is pretty extraordinary, especially considering we're talking about one area the size of a single American city. Like, you can look at satellite maps right now of Gaza, and it's literally nothing. There is no Gaza anymore. They're not going back, dog. What do you think is happening to the 2 million Palestinians that are now crammed in the southern part of the Gaza Strip? Do you think they're going back to the molten ash heap that is the northern part of the Gaza Strip? There aren't houses to go back to.
Do you think that if you would believe for 1 second that Israel wants to eliminate Hamas, you might not believe it, but just for the sake
of they like Hamas. They're pro-Hamas.
Okay, but for the sake of the argument, let's say Israel wants to eradicate Hamas. That's gonna take that's gonna cost a lot of lives. You agree with me, right? Like even if you do it in the best possible way.
Maybe you shouldn't do it then.
If you want to eradicate 40,000 people, some estimates are up to that from Hamas fighters. It's going to cost a lot of people's lives. Like,
then don't do it.
That's terrible.
No, you don't get to just like, oh well. Sadly, our goal involves killing 1 million civilians. Guess we have to kill 1 million civilians. You just don't do it.
Yes, Suriname was a colony of the Dutch. It's on the South American mainland. Thankfully, Britain didn't have any colonies, and thus the complicated situation of people from former colonies coming to live here was never a problem. Checkmate history.
The goal is self-defense, right?
No, it's not. No. Hamas is the one acting in self-defense. Israel did this to the Gaza Strip. Israel isn't acting in self-defense. They're the ones who created the situation.
It was Dutch Guyana, and by the way, French Guyana is still a part of France. It's a little quiz question for you. Did you know that France technically borders Brazil? Little fact for you. French Guyana, a little sliver of northern South America. That is not just a French colony, it's actually a part of France. Which is fucking stupid.
Israel didn't exist here. They partitioned the territory, Nakba the Palestinians, fought war after war.
They did not partition. The UN partitioned.
And they partitioned with the consultation of Zionist groups, and Zionist militias were given weapons and then the full-on army. Yes, they did not directly do it, but they were fully part of the process, consented to it, and were participant in the removal of the Palestinians during the Nakba. Time after time after time, it's Israelis who have been the aggressors. And now, after cramming a bunch of Palestinians into a concentration camp, they act indignant that a few bottle rockets find their way out. Well, I'm really sorry, Israel, but you did make all of this happen, and you could stop it. Israel could stop it. And
Edgar Davids as well as Clarence Seedorf. Just, I thought I got the wrong person, but they're both from Suriname, and they were both very good midfielders.
Make life better for them and for the Palestinians. They're jeopardizing their own safety. The safety of Israeli people is jeopardized every time that dumb Netanyahu, who, by the way, the Israelis voted for, as long as we're doing the you're responsible for who you vote for bit, okay? Netanyahu has continuously jeopardized the safety of Israeli civilians by putting them at odds with every neighboring Arab state. Constant aggression and aggression and aggression. They're never going to live there peacefully if you keep throwing rocks at everyone you live by and the people you live next to, the Palestinians.
So you're just going to ignore the Abraham Accords? That's also Netanyahu making enemies with neighboring states? Him, like, having peace deals?
I mean, how's that working out? Like, a bunch of neighboring countries have literally threatened to militarily intervene if they don't stop killing Palestinians. Clearly, it didn't work that well.
Yeah, but they're not really
okay.
going
So
to,
because the situation now changed, you're not going to recognize.
Yeah, they changed it.
Well,
He attempted the Abrahamic Accords, but it doesn't really matter if you're going to keep genociding the Palestinians. All the neighboring Arab nations are going to rile up about it, right?
Yeah, because they find it a very useful front, right? The Palestinian front. They use it to distract their own people from internal problems.
Yeah, just like Netanyahu uses Hamas. Yeah.
They keep them in refugee camps. They don't give them rights. They don't give them permits to work in their countries, even though they're their Muslim brothers. And I don't hear you talking about Egypt.
Wait. You can't. They can't give them permits. They're in a camp.
Jordan can't give them work permits. The Palestinian refugees in Jordan. They're over a couple of million.
Yeah, the refugees. We're talking about the people in the Gaza Strip. Hey, why are there refugees in Jordan? That's weird. What are they refugees from?
From losing land after losing a war.
From being ethnically cleansed. That's what that means. Ethnic cleansing is when you clear people of an ethnicity out of a territory, often after they lose a war. You know, it's possible to win a war and then to simply control the area. The part where you remove everyone of a given skin color or religion or whatever, that's the ethnic cleansing part. They chose to do that.
They chose to give back the Sinai. They offered up the Golan Heights.
Well, first of all, okay, they did not offer up. They fought for the Golan Heights. They took it. People have asked them to give it back. Also, they were pressured into giving the Sinai.
They offered it up in return for peace.
In return for peace. They also were pressured into giving the Sinai back. Also, this is a pivot. This has nothing to do with the Palestinians. The Palestinians.
Jimmy Floyd, Gerald Hasselbank. Oh, what a name. What a callback.
Were not Egypt. They didn't fight. The Palestinians weren't at war with the Israeli army over the Sinai Peninsula. This is, again, like you keep pivoting when I say, like, Israel chose to do an ethnic cleansing. Why are there so many Palestinian refugees in Jordan? It's like, oh, well, because they chose to do it, you know? Like, at the end of the day, Israel just does monstrous shit all the time, and it gets so indignant when anything bad happens to it, when it causes, like, why does everyone hate me? I don't know, dude. Have you done anything hateable, Israel? Have you done anything to antagonize your neighbors? I wonder.
So what did you expect to happen in, like,
really, I just have to say, I hate this. What do you expect to happen? Okay, if Israel did something, they did something. I'm not talking about, like, oh, after this, what do you expect? If they did a thing, they did a thing. What did Israel expect? Did anything obligate Israel to make millions of Palestinian refugees? Was there like a divine mandate that made them do it? It was their choice. They chose to do that because the people who did it were evil, and that's all there is to it.
Okay, and the Palestinians chose Hamas.
Yeah, in 2006.
And they chose Intifadas.
My argument is that at that point, Israel had given them basically no other choice. And you haven't responded to that, by the way. Like, I keep arguing over and over again, like decades and decades of diplomatic efforts. It seems like you weren't even aware of them because you framed, like, all the wars as though they were, like, fought between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, but you're acting like the
you
Palestinians
framed,
were,
like, all the wars.
On the side, like, okay, guys, fight this war.
Again,
obviously not.
Yeah, why would they not support the people who are fighting the people, brutalizing them? No, again, no.
I get you.
No, the Palestinians are, again, this isn't a matter of, well, what do you expect? The Palestinians are morally correct in supporting the enemy of their enemy. The Israelis are morally incorrect in doing genocide. You can't say, well, what did you expect? Why would Israel not do genocide after the people they were genociding sided with the people who were trying to stop the genocide? No shit. Of course they would side. The Palestinians have every right to. The Palestinians have every right to basically any support of any military opposition to Israel. They are being genocided. This is like libertarianism 101. I mean, they're literally being kept in an open-air prison. Why would they not? Like, Israel cuts their water, man. They're, in the Gaza Strip, even before the conflict, only like 10% of people.
Why would Israel owe them water?
You're a fucking monster. They can't leave. That's like saying, why would a prison guard have to give water to their prisoners? They can't leave. They can't get their own water. What do you mean? Why would they? They should just be allowed to just bake in the desert. You're genuinely brain dead. Fucking brain dead.
They live in Israel. It's Israel territory. What do you mean owe them water?
They left the Gaza Strip in 2005.
What? It's still Israel. The military occupation left. It's still Israel. Israel controls the water in. This is what I mean. This is why I like talking to people like you, because you're monsters. You go through like the runabout, but then I hear, well, why would it be bad exactly for Ukraine to do war crimes back? It's like you don't comprehend what is or isn't acceptable reprisal on a social level. You say you're a libertarian, but you're okay with the police and the military, the least libertarian institutions in the world. And then when we get right down to it, who said 2 million people had to be given water? Who said water is a human right? I do say that. And if people like you are the kinds of people that Palestinians had to deal with when they tried to fight for their rights, no shit they turned to Hamas. Because they probably thought that, I don't know, suicide bombing buildings full of people like you was a far more effective route to their freedom than trying to explain to people like you why they deserve to have water as a human right. How dare you even pose that as a question? Like, because Israel left, like, the military occupation?
He's cooking. He's cooking. Let's go.
They just die now? They just get to die?
They chose Hamas.
They chose Hamas. I'm choosing to end the call.
Of the water.
Nice.
Yes. Got him. Absolute banger. It was a long build up, but I'm glad we got to that at the end. Yeah, that guy was a fucking arsehole. And on that bombshell, we are leaving it for the evening. Oh, fuck me sideways. That was fucking delightful. Anyway, I will be back tomorrow with Christy Winters for our usual Wheel of Madness. On the happy hour, and then who made this? Oh, the thing on the screen. I don't know. I just saw it on Twitter, and honestly, it's fucking beautiful, isn't it? It's just an actual live feed of him in hell. Yes, and then I'll be back Saturday as well for this charity stream. Don't forget. Go and retweet the charity stream stuff. It's in the Discord, it's on my Twitter, it's on Facebook, it's in the Facebook group, the Happy Hour group. Go and spread it far and wide like a good pair of legs. Anyway. Well, not lifelike, it's very death-like, I think is the thing. Because he's dead. Can we get one final lull in chat for Henry Kissinger being dead? Before we leave. It would be remiss of us not to get a final lull. Who is going on the Twitch? Hannah Reloaded. We'll go over to Hannah, who is a good person, who may very well be on the stream with me on Saturday, hopefully. But I can't guarantee that, because who knows. Go and check them out. They're awesome. And say hello to them. And yeah, like I say, I'll be back tomorrow with the happy hour. Thank you so much for all of your support. This one has been a fun one, as it always promised it would be. And yeah, stay beautiful. No pass around.
of Logan, thanks for the raid. Welcome, Raiders. Today we're looking at meme stock